Peace, peace, and love, y'all. Thanks for joining me. This is a very special green stream. So sit tight, get your snacks, do what you gotta do. We about to get it in. Thanks for being on time, everybody. We're just gonna let the room fill up a little bit. We're gonna get into this. Yes. Okay. Let me cut my camera on for everybody. Like I said, it's going to be a very special show today. Yeah. What's going on, everybody? Peace, power, and protection. This is Master Peace, back at it again. And I am so glad that you're with me. Before I begin, allow me to check if my audio is clear and everything is good, because I'm not going to be doing too much talking, believe it or not, in this live stream. I'm going to be doing live commentary, and it's going to be very special. So I need to make sure that everybody can hear me. I got a 1 already. Perfect. Got someone buying a blender tomorrow. Blenders are good. It's good to blend up the drinks as long as you drink it immediately right then and there after you take it out of the blender. Otherwise, all the air that's come into contact with it is going to oxidize it very fast, and it'll turn it brown within, hours. Unless you have like a lemon in there to keep it to preserve it, the vitamin C, then it might go brown. I highly recommend juicers, slow juicers, and with the fiber that it spits out, you can incorporate that back into the juice if you'd like. Okay, so now that you guys can hear me well, let me now ask if you can hear this. I got a 1 in the chat. Let me get another 1 if you can hear this lady's voice.
Introduction of Vegetarianism and Occultism.
Did everybody just hear that? She said, Introduction to Vegetarianism and Occultism. Let me see.
Introduction of Vegetarianism and Occultism.
Did everybody get that? Let me get a 1 in the chat. Okay, everybody could hear that. Perfect. Yeah, GPX Sage. I recommend Omega, an Omega juicer. You can find them used for like $50, $100, depending on the seller. Try typing in Omega VRT. Okay, the newer one is a VSJ, but the VRT has a 10-year warranty, and it's good. It'll do you fine. All right, so thank you everybody for joining us. Hompelis Midi, GPX Sage, Manny Pinocchio, Flat Fool, KT420, GPX Sage. I think I said that. Zapal, what's going on? You got a diffuser? That's what I'm talking about. Get some. Yeah, you can add some hydrogen peroxide in there, and you can also add some oils, some whatever you like. Backpack Zoe, what's going on, brother? PR Corey, how's it going? Yep, Vegan Snacks, Glow TV, peace. Welcome, welcome. I think I got everybody. All right, more people will come in, but I'm just going to start this off right now. The mind of many. Okay, now let's get right into this because I don't want to keep you guys waiting. Let me clear all my windows down so that this doesn't lag at all. Okay, perfect. I'll pop up the chat so that I can always monitor you guys, answer any questions. Okay, I can put that down. Perfect. Let me go to live chat. All right, let's get right into this. Let's get right into it. The book that I am about to provide commentary on in this special episode of the Green Stream is called Vegetarianism and Occultism. Now, I am recommending this book. I've always been recommending this book ever since I've come across it, but people don't really have the attention span, or maybe they'll miss a very vital piece of information. So here I am to listen to the book with you guys and also expound on it by providing further evidences and different types of examples. And it's going to be very good because me personally, it's the most thoroughly written book about the reasons of why to switch to a plant-based diet, personally and compassionately for the whole. So that's why I'm sharing this with you guys, and we're gonna get it right into it. I don't like delaying, so here we go.
By C.W. Ledbetter.
Here we go. This is called Vegetarianism and Occultism by C.W. Ledbetter. C.W. Ledbetter is an occultist, meaning he studies the metaphysical sides of life, the hidden sides of life. Most things that happen is happening under the under the disguise of matter. So you see a plant growing. Well, most of the work that was done was under the ground for it to sprout in the shade, in the darkness. And then when it's ready, it pops out, and then you see it growing. And then even when you see it growing, the stuff that's happening inside the cells and the fibers of the plant, that's what we mean by occult, the hidden part of us, so of our reality. So C.W. Ledbetter has many, many, many books, and not all just factual books. Some of them are playful and just little stories, little tales. So they're all interesting, and he's a good author, and we are about to hear his writings right now. So without further ado, Vegetarianism and Occultism by C.W. Ledbetter.
Of Vegetarianism and Occultism by C.W. Ledbetter. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain.
Now I'm going to do a little trick. I am going to speed it up a bit. Just put it from the normal to 1.25. That way it'll be a little bit quicker going for us.
For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Andrea Fiore. Vegetarianism and Occultism.
Put a 1 in the chat if you guys can hear.
Occultism by C.W. Ledbetter. Introduction. In speaking the relation between vegetarianism and occultism, it may be well for us to begin by defining our terms. We all know what is meant by vegetarianism, and although there are several varieties of it, it will not be necessary to discuss them. The vegetarian is one who abstains from eating flesh food. There are some of them who admit such animal products as are obtained without destroying the life of the animal, as for example, milk, butter, and cheese. There are others who restrict themselves to certain varieties of the vegetable, to fruit and nuts, perhaps. There are others who prefer to take only such food as can be eaten uncooked. Others will take no food which grows underground, such as potatoes, turnips, carrots, etc. We need not concern ourselves with these divisions, but simply define the vegetarian as one who abstains from any food which is obtained by the slaughter of animals.
Okay, now
how shall we define occultism?
Let me start by saying, you see, at the time, this is a very old book, and you see at the time when they're writing it, all of these, the keto diet, the paleo diet, raw food vegan diet, you know, the term vegan itself, all of these different little departments of vegetarianism didn't exist. If you were a vegetarian, like for example, if you go to a Chinese restaurant or an Indian restaurant, a lot of the times you say, yeah, I'll have that with no meat, no cream, no eggs. And then they say, oh, you're vegetarian. And then you're thinking, well, you know, I am vegetarian, yes, but I also don't eat eggs and whatever. And they say, okay, 100% vegetarian. So not all cultures have the word vegan in their definition. Okay, so that's something to take note of.
Simply define the vegetarian, etc. Take no food which grows underground, such as potatoes, turnips, carrots, etc. We need not concern ourselves with these divisions, but simply define the vegetarian as one who abstains from any food which is obtained by the slaughter of animals, of course including birds and fish. How shall we define occultism? The word is derived from the Latin occultus, hidden, so that it is the study of the hidden laws of nature. Since all the great laws of nature are in fact working in the invisible world far more than the visible, occultism involves the acceptance of a much wider view of nature than that which is ordinarily taken. The occultist, then, is a man who studies all the laws of nature that he can reach or of which he can hear, and as a result of his study, he identifies himself with these laws and devotes his life to the service of evolution.
Now, when they say evolution in this book, they're not meaning like we talk about from the monkey. This person is an occultist. They know that that is a lie and it's BS. The evolution that we talk about is of the soul's progression through life. That's the only evolution that we're talking about here, okay?
How does occultism regard vegetarianism? It regards it very favorably, and that for many reasons. These reasons may be divided into two classes, those which are ordinary and physical, and those which are occult or hidden. There are many reasons in favor of vegetarianism, which are down here on the physical plane and patent to the eye of anyone who will take the trouble to examine the subject. And these will operate with the occult student even more strongly than with the ordinary man. In addition to these, and altogether beyond them, the occult student knows of other reasons which come from the study of those hidden laws, which are as yet so little understood by the majority of mankind. We must therefore divide our consideration of these reasons into two parts, first taking the ordinary and physical. Even these ordinary reasons may themselves be subdivided into two classes, the first containing those which are physical and, as it were, selfish, and secondly those which may be described as the moral and unselfish considerations.
You see, I love how they broke that up between, you know, how is veganism going to save me, and then there's another part coming up where is how is it going to save everybody else. You'll notice between the family members, the friends, acquaintances, people on the bus that you meet, you're going to have to very quickly investigate what they care about most. Am I trying to get them to improve their life with a plant-based diet? And how am I going to do it? By telling them it's going to help them, or it's going to help save the environment or the animals? You know what I mean? There's different entry points. People have different weaknesses. For me, at the beginning, it was selfish. You know what I mean? I wanted quicker recovery time. I wanted better skin. I wanted the energy. You know what I mean? But then once I started consuming myself with pure light, you know, fruits and vegetables, it's like my heart opened up, and now I don't even care really about what I eat as much as so long as it doesn't have another life involved in it. Okay, let's check it out.
First, then, let us take the reasons in favor of vegetarianism, which concern only the man himself and are purely upon the physical plane. For the moment, we will put aside the consideration of the effect upon others, which is so vegetarianism.
Did you hear that? She said the physical plane. You're going to hear C.W. Ledbetter refer to things like mental planes, emotional planes, you know, astral planes. They all knew that the earth was flat. Okay, they all know that. It's a big joke, okay? The occultists know what this earth shape is, and they always refer to it as planes. Let's get it.
Which concern only the man himself and are purely upon the physical plane. For the moment, we will put aside the consideration of the effect upon others, which is so infinitely more important, and think only of the results for the man himself. It is necessary to do this. This because one of the objections frequently brought against vegetarianism is that it is a beautiful theory, but one the working out of which is impractical, since it is supposed that a man cannot live without devouring dead flesh. That objection is irrational, and is founded upon ignorance or perversion of facts. I am myself an example of its falsity, for I have lived without the pollution of flesh food, without meat, fish, or fowl, for the last 38 years, and I not only still survive, but I have been during all that time in remarkably good health. Nor am I in any way peculiar in this, for I know some thousands of others who have done the same thing. I know some younger ones who have been so happy as to be unpolluted by the eating of flesh during their whole lives, and are distinctly freer from disease than those who partake of such things. Assuredly, there are many.
Damn. Okay, now that goes on to even what people are telling me. They say, "Yo, Masterpiece, you were doing these live streams. I switched my daughter or my son over to to the diet that you're referring. You know, the lifestyle you're referring. You know, getting out the cheese, getting out the dairy and the eggs and all that. And now my baby has no more mucus, no more sinuses, and no more eye gunk. You know, you take your vegetarian child to a place, and you see all these children just looking so inflamed and sick, looking like they're struggling to breathe. Okay, so that's another proof right there. You know, if somebody right now is writing this book, who for the last over 20 years has been living without the animal flesh, then you know what I mean. It's not objectionable. So let's go on.
Than those who partake of such things, lives, and are distinctly freer from disease than those polluted by the eating of flesh during their whole lives, and are distinctly freer from disease than those who partake of such things. Assuredly, there are many reasons in favor of vegetarianism from the purely selfish point of view, and I will put that first, because I know that the selfish considerations will appeal most strongly to the majority of people, though I hope that in the case of those who are studying theosophy, we may assume that the moral considerations, which I shall later adduce, will sway them far more forcibly. End of introduction. Recording by Andrea Fiore.
They gotta attack the selfish reasons first before we go into other people. People don't have time these days to think about other people, so you got to hit them. You know, it's coronary heart diseases. There's cancers. There's bone mineral loss. So many different reasons that you shouldn't eat it. You know, that you got to care about. That's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with people with, well, how is it going to help me? Okay, so that's great to start it off with the more selfish reasons when you're talking to somebody. Oh, well, where do you get your protein from, and how do you do this and that? And you know, hey, well, I feel better, and you could feel better too. Then down the line, they'll realize how important it is for the environment. Or, okay, if you see someone that really cares about the environment, that goes out to meetings, that posts on Facebook, that goes to protests and everything, and puts out petitions, the second half of this book is what we are going to want to show those kind of people. You want to hit them with that empathy, with what they're doing to the environment. Oh, you care about the environment? Did you know that over 90% of Amazon deforestation is due to raising grass-fed cattle? So, all right, let's go on.
Section 1 of Vegetarianism and Occultism. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Andrea Fiore. Vegetarianism and Occultism by C.W. Ledbetter. Section 1. We want the best. I take it that in food, as well as in everything else, we, all of us, want the best that is within our means. We should like to bring our lives, and therefore our daily food, as a not unimportant part of our lives, into harmony with our aspirations, into harmony with the highest that we know. We should be glad to take what is really best, and if we do not yet know enough to be able to appreciate what is best, then we should be glad to learn to do so.
If you want to, let's listen to that again.
Our lives, into harmony with our aspirations, into harmony with the highest that we know. We should be glad to take what is really best, and if we do not yet know enough to be able to appreciate what is best, then we should be glad to learn to do so.
Okay, if you don't know anything about rock music, right? You're working with a guy, he's older than you. Hey, you don't know the Rolling Stones? It's like, no, I never heard of them. Oh, you don't know rock music? No. Oh my gosh, okay, I'm gonna make you a CD with the best rock music on it. That's what we do. We share the best. You know what I mean? If you want to get to know classical music, you're not just gonna type in classical music. You want to go to the masters. And if you yourself don't know who those masters are, then we have to put ourselves in a position to open up and listen to someone and say, oh, okay, that's the best. If we're listening to poetry, we're not gonna go to, you know, some a 14-year-old kid's poem. You want to go to a world-renowned poet in order to really know what poetry is all about, all the modalities, all the different types of verses and arrangements that you can have with the poetry. You know what I mean? Not an unskilled person. If you want to learn surgery, you want to learn it from the best, right? We want the best. And I think that this is a very important piece of the puzzle right here. So check this out.
If we think of it, we shall see that this is the case along other lines, as for example, in music, art, or literature. We have been taught from childhood that if we want our musical taste developed along the best lines, we must select only the best music. And if at first we do not fully appreciate or understand it, we must be willing patiently to wait and to listen, until at length something of its sweet beauty dawns upon our souls, and we come to comprehend that which at first awakened no response within our hearts. If we want to appreciate the best in art, we must not fill our eyes with the sensational broadcasts of police news or with the hideous abominations which are miscalled comic pictures, but we must steadily look and learn until the mystery of the work of Turner begins to unfold to our patient contemplation, or the grand breadth of Velasquez comes within our power to understand. So too in literature. It has been the sad experience of many that much of the best and the most beautiful is lost to those whose mental food consists exclusively of the sensational paper or the cheap novel, or that frothy mass of waste material, which is thrown up like scum upon the molten metal of life, novelettes, serials, and fragments of a type which neither teach the ignorant, nor strengthen the weak, nor develop the immature.
It basically is nothing. These comics, these magazines, they don't educate you. They don't give you better temperament. They don't, you know what I mean? The comic books, the magazines, it's not the best of the literature. And notice how she called it mental food, right? The music you listen to, you're digesting it. The thoughts that you have, you're digesting them. Whatever it is, the poetry, the shows you're watching, you're digesting and understanding and breaking it down and making it a part of you, just like you are with food. Except sometimes thought forms can stay with you even longer than foods, right?
If we wish to unfold the mind in our children, we do not leave them to their own uncultivated taste in all these things, but we try to help them to train that taste, whether it be in art, in music, or in literature. Surely, then, we may seek to find the best in physical as well as in mental food, and surely we must find this not by mere blind instinct, but by learning to think and to reason out the matter from the higher point of view. There may be those in the world who have no desire for the best, who are willing to remain on the lower levels, and consciously and intentionally to build into themselves that which is coarse and degrading. But surely there are many who wish to rise above this, who would gladly and eagerly take the best, if only they knew what it was, or if their attention was directed to it. There are men and women who are morally of the highest class, who yet have been brought up to feed with the hyenas and the wolves of life, and have been taught that their necessary dietary was the corpse of a slaughtered animal. It needs but little thought to show us that this horror cannot be the highest and the purest, and that if we ever wish to raise ourselves in the scale of nature, if we ever wish that our bodies shall be pure and clean as the temples of the Master should be, we must abandon this loathsome custom and take our place among the princely hosts who are striving for the evolution of mankind, striving for the highest and the purest in everything, for themselves as well as for their fellow men. Let us see in detail why a vegetarian diet is emphatically the purest and the best.
Emphatically the purest and the best. Don't let people tell you that, oh, you're looking weak, you should get some eggs in you. Oh, it's just some milk. Milk does a body good. Don't let people tell you that. It comes with stuff. It comes with the best.
End of section 1. Recording by Andrea
The
Fiore.
plants.
Section 2 of Vegetarianism and Occultism. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Andrea Fiore. Vegetarianism and Occultism by C.W. Leadbeater. Section 2. More nutriment. First, because vegetables contain more nutriment than an equal amount of dead flesh. This will sound a surprising and incredible statement to many people, because they have been brought up to believe that they cannot exist unless they defile themselves with flesh, and this delusion is so widely spread that it is difficult to awaken the average man from it. It must be clearly understood that this is not a question of habit, or of sentiment, or of prejudice. It is simply a question of plain fact, and as to the facts, there is not, and there never has been, the slightest question. There are 4 elements necessary in food, all of them essential to the repair and the upbuilding of the body. A. Proteins or nitrogenous foods. B. Carbohydrates. C. Fats. D. Salts. This is the classification usually accepted among physiologists, although some recent investigations are tending to modify it to a certain extent. Now, there is no question that all of these elements exist to a greater extent in vegetables than they do in dead flesh. For instance, milk, cream, cheese, nuts, peas, and beans contain a large percentage of proteins or nitrogenous matter. Wheat, oats, rice, and other grains, fruits, and most of the vegetables, except perhaps peas, beans, and lentils, consist mainly of carbohydrates, that is, of starches and sugars. The fats are found in nearly all of the protein foods, and can also be taken in the form of butter or of oils. The salts are found practically in all foods, to a greater or less extent. They are of the utmost importance in the maintenance of the body tissues, and what is called saline starvation is the cause of many diseases. It is sometimes claimed that flesh meat contains some of the things to a larger degree than vegetables, and some tables are drawn up in such a way as to suggest this. But once more, this is a question of facts, and must be faced from that point of view. The only sources of energy in dead flesh are the protein matter contained therein, and the fat, and as the fat in it certainly has no more value than other fat, the only point to be considered is the proteins. Now, it must be remembered that proteins have only one origin. They are organized in plants and nowhere else.
Ho, 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 ho. What? That was eye-opening, okay? She said there's 4 elements that we need. Protein or nitrogenous matters, and we've talked about this before. Protein or nitrogenous matters. 2, carbohydrates. 3, the fats. And 4, the salts. Now, when you have, she said that the fats are commonly found with proteins, like coconuts, nuts, buttery nuts, when you blend them up and they're all creamy. That oiliness, that's the fat. She said that the fat exists in oils. So when you have olive oil or flaxseed oil, those are the fats. And then they also have a lot of amino acids in them, and they have complete proteins. And then she says that the proteins are nitrogenous. You heard that, nitrogenous matter. We're going to get into what that means later. She's going to explain it. But also, did you hear about what she said about the salts and how most diseases are caused from saline deficiency, starvation? Now, she said that the salts exist in everything, and that's true. The kale, the parsley, the beets, radishes, apples, you name it. There's salts. And if you know about homeopathy or naturopathy, there's tissue salts, right? The 12 bodily tissue salts, where when you burn the body, what's left behind in that carbon or that ash is salts, 12 salts. And these 12 salts, they say correspond with the 12 zodiacs and blah, 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 and all that. But basically the fact is that at the basics of all that material is a salt material. So people say, oh, a low sodium diet. Well, what kind of sodium are you trying to keep low? The iodized table salt, yeah, that's horrible. Pink salt, much better. It's a crystal. It's got a lot to give. But even still, it's still a rock type of mineral. You know what I mean? I definitely recommended it over white salt for sure, or sea salt. But still, it has that rock mineral that your body cannot absorb. So the best way to get salts is from the foods. Willie Little John, thank you very much for that donation. I really appreciate that. It really helps me do what I do here. So that was a lot. I let it kind of play. She said a lot there. Let's get back into it. The proteins, which are nitrogenous, the carbs, which are sugars and starches. One thing I wanted to say about that is if you get a plantain or a banana, it has a lot of starches in it. Or if you get like a sweet potato or like a purple potato, there's some starches. If you cut it open, you can see like little white sap kind of ooze out. That's the starch. Now, what happens when you gently heat up a plantain or a banana or a potato is that those starches convert into sugars. Or what happens if you let the banana sit on your counter or your avocado, the starches, they break down into sugars. So it's still energy. It's just you want to eat it ripe. You want to eat these foods ripe. You know, when you eat a banana that's not ripe and it's kind of chalky and it might hurt your throat a little bit, it's because your body doesn't really know what to do with it. It's not broken down into simple sugars yet. So when they say, where are you going to get your protein? Let's just do it from where the animal gets it, okay? So let's go on and talk about these materials. She also ended off by saying the scientific community is also modifying that from the protein, fats, carbs, and salts, and they're trying to add more things in. And you know exactly what that's going to be, right? The B12s and the omegas and all that. But let's stick to the basics here, because science does have a way, they have a way of confusing us, giving us too much information. We can't keep it simple. And that's why I like going back to these types of books, this type of literature, because they keep it simple. All right, I'll rewind it a couple seconds and we'll get it in.
Fat. The only point to be considered is the proteins. Now it must be remembered that proteins have only one origin. They are organized in plants and nowhere else. Nuts, peas, beans, and lentils are far richer than any kind of flesh in these elements, and they have this enormous advantage, that the proteins are pure and therefore contain all the energy originally stored up in them during their organization. In the animal body, these proteins, which the animal has absorbed from the vegetable kingdom during its life, are constantly passing down to disorganization, during which descent the energy originally stored in them is released. Consequently, what has been used already by one animal cannot be utilized by another.
Woo! Oh, what? What? But what about all those people that ridicule you and criticize and say, well, what about your protein? And what about the whole lie of you know, that food table with the breads on the bottom and the little bits of meats and the eggs at the top? What are they talking about? She's talking about, or C.W. Ledbetter is talking about exactly what I was saying. If I take in protein to use it, where are you getting your protein from? You can't take my flesh and think that you're gonna get protein out of there. I done ate the protein. It's now breaking down into my body.
From the vegetable kingdom during its life.
Like understand that the plant, when it's growing, it's not just this abstract thing growing. It is building up minerals. It's piecing things together from the soil, from the air. It's collecting it all, and it's building itself. Okay, it's taking that sunlight with all the different spectrums in it, all the different wavelengths, and it is organizing it within itself. From that little seed with all that power in it, it expands, and as it expands, it is building up materials in itself, and that is the energy. Okay, now when you cut that off and you eat it, you're now taking those built up minerals that are aligned and distilled and charged and high frequency, like the kale. That you look at a kale leaf and it's organized. You see the orange, and it's organized. It's got geometry in it. It's got symmetry in it. When you eat that, you're breaking that apart. You're taking the fibers and you're opening up the cell walls, and you're releasing the ions and other minerals. You're breaking it down, and it is releasing that energy as you're breaking it down. Like when you burn a wood fire, everything that it had in all those oils, everything stored up, you're now lighting it and giving off of its energy so you can use for heat. Okay? Woo! I love this book.
Stored up in them during their proteins are pure, and therefore contain all the energy originally stored up in them during their organization. In the animal body, these proteins, which the animal has absorbed from the vegetable kingdom during its life, are constantly passing down to disorganization, during which descent, the energy originally stored in them is released. Consequently, what has been used already by one animal cannot be utilized by another. The proteins are estimated in some of these tables by the amount of nitrogen contained therein. But in flesh meat, there are many products of tissue change, such as urea, uric acid, and creatine, all of which contain nitrogen.
Whoa, wait, what? Wait, what?
And are therefore
Hold on.
But in flesh meat, there are many products of tissue change, such as urea, uric acid, and creatine, all of which contain nitrogen.
They all contain nitrogen. Wait, protein is nitrogenous. When you break it apart, it contains nitrogen. Same thing with creatine and urea. What is she trying to say?
And are therefore estimated as proteins, though they have no food value whatsoever.
Oh.
Such as urea. The proteins are estimated in some of these tables by the amount of nitrogen contained therein.
The protein in the meat, when you go to the store and you buy a steak, or you buy a beef jerky or something like that, or a beef soup, and you look and it says protein, they're really measuring the nitrogen, right? Because if the animal broke down the protein, you can't find any protein in the animal to say, oh, there's 15 grams of protein right here. You can't do that because the animal, why? Used it. Okay, so, but wait a minute. If they say, okay, in this flesh, there's 15 grams of nitrogen in it, you cannot be sure that all of that nitrogen came from the protein, because the urea, uric acid, and the creatine and other things she named also converts down to nitrogen. So really, when you're reading the protein for like a beef jerky or something like that, you're seeing really nitrogen. It's not protein, it's nitrogen. And like she said, nitrogen comes from a lot of different types of things breaking down. So again, there's less protein in meat. We're eating meat for no reason at all. Let's get it.
But in flesh meat, there are many products of tissue change, such as urea, uric acid, and creatine, all of which contain nitrogen, and are therefore estimated as proteins, though they have no food value whatsoever. Nor is this all the evil, for this tissue change is necessarily accompanied by the formation of various poisons, which are always to be found in flesh of any kind, and in many cases, the virulence of these poisons is very great. So you will observe that if you gain any nourishment from the eating of dead flesh, you obtain it because during its life, the animal consumed vegetable matter.
If you get any type of nourishment from flesh, from a piece of flesh, it's because that person ate fruits and vegetables. If you were to eat a lion, you would it would not be good. All of the lion eats vegans. We eat vegans, right? If we were to eat each other, we would taste very bad. They when you smell a body burning, it's not pleasant. And everybody, everybody can go and read in many different accounts and historical documents about, whether they're burning bodies or cremating someone or, morticians, whatever. They'll all say that when the body is decomposing, it smells very foul. Okay. So if the meat that you're eating used to eat other meat, other fleshes, then it's gonna taste more foul than a vegan's meat, than a chicken's meat. Okay, the chicken's meat is very clean, is very, you know what I mean? It's the flesh. You see the cow, it's very lean. It's got not a lot of fat on it. It's a clean source. They say, oh, it's grass fed, it's plant fed, whatever, right? But if you are gonna eat something that ate other dead animals, then you're taking in like sevenfold the amounts of toxins, right? If I'm a living, breathing person and I'm eating meat and putting perfume on and cologne and doing drugs and alcohol and all that, then I'm degrading my own body. And then if somebody else eats me, they're degrading it further. And then if someone eats them, they're degrading it further and further. And this is why I always say, stay off of the fish. The fish eat just smaller fish. So you have a little fish eating algae, minding its own business, and breathing in all the toxins from the ocean. And then you got another fish doing the same thing that eats it. And then you got a bigger fish that eats that. Slower and slower, or more gradually and gradually. The toxin levels in each fish is getting higher and higher because this fish has mercury in it, and it eats another fish with mercury in it. And then a bigger fish eats them both. Now it's got its mercury plus that mercury and the other mercury from the other fish. So like the book said, if there's any type of nutrient that you're getting from the flesh, it's left over or stored from the plants that they were eating. Okay? So even if you're eating plants, it's clean. But even if you're eating an animal, eating the animal that ate the plants is going to be better than eating the carnivore. And I personally I couldn't imagine eating a carnivore. I wouldn't even know what to do with that.
You get less of this nourishment. So you will observe that if you gain any nourishment from the eating of dead flesh, you obtain it because during its life, the animal consumed vegetable matter. You get less of this nourishment than you ought to have, because the animal has already used half of it, and you have along with it various undesirable substances, and even some active poisons, which are, of course, distinctly deleterious. I know that there are many doctors who will prescribe the loathsome flesh diet in order to strengthen people, and that they will often meet with a certain amount of success, though even on this point, they are by no means agreed. For Dr. Milner Fothergill writes, all the bloodshed caused by the warlike disposition of Napoleon is as nothing compared to the loss of life among the myriads of persons who have sunk into their graves through a displaced confidence in the supposed value of beef tea. At any rate, the strengthening results can be obtained more easily from the vegetable kingdom when the science of diet is properly understood, and they can be obtained without the horrible pollution and without all the undesirable concomitants of the other system. Let me show you that I am not in all this making any unfounded assertions. Let me quote to you the opinions of physicians, of men whose names are well known in the medical world, so you may see that I have abundant authority for all that I have said. We find Sir Henry Thompson, FRCS, saying, it is a vulgar error to regard meat in any form as necessary to life. All that is necessary to the human body can be supplied by the vegetable kingdom. The vegetarian can extract from his food all the principles necessary for the growth and support of the body, as well as for the production of heat and force. It must be admitted as a fact, beyond all question, that some persons are stronger and more healthy who live on that food. I know how much of the prevailing meat diet is not merely a wasteful extravagance, but a source of serious evil to the consumer. There is a definite statement by a well-known medical man. Then we may turn to the words of a fellow of the Royal Society, Sir Benjamin Ward Richardson, MD. He says, "It must be honestly admitted that weight by weight, vegetable substance, when carefully selected, possesses the most striking advantages over animal food in nutritious value. I should like to see a vegetarian and fruit-living plan put into general use, and I believe it will be." The well-known physician, Dr. William S. Playfair, CB, has said quite clearly, "Animal diet is not essential to man." And we find Dr. F.J. Sykes, BSc, the Medicat official for St. Pancras, writing, "Chemistry is not antagonistic to vegetarianism, any more than biology is. Flesh food is certainly not necessary to supply the nitrogenous products required for the repair of tissues. Therefore, a well-selected diet from the vegetable kingdom is perfectly right, from the chemical point of view, for the nutrition of men." Dr. Francis Vacher, FRCS, FCS, remarks, "I have no belief that a man is better physically or mentally for taking flesh food." Dr. Alexander Haig, FP, the leading physician of one of the great London hospitals, has written that it is easily possible to sustain life on the products of the vegetable kingdom needs no demonstration for physiologists, even if the majority of the human race were not constantly engaged in demonstrating it, and my researches show not only that it is possible, but that it is infinitely preferable in every way and produces superior powers, both of mind and body.
Notice how in the book, these occultists, they write in such ways as the human race. You know, they don't often split up the races. You won't hear this book talk about, well, you know, Chinese people benefit more off of eggs, and then you know, Russians, they benefit more off of milks from the region that they're in, and you know, people in the Amazon, they live better off of plants and a little bit of chicken. No, it's not that. It's they know, just like they know that the earth is flat, just like they know that what you set your mind to becomes actual things. They know that
Dr. Way and
they know that A, you don't need the animal flesh, and B, that we're all one race, that we're all a human race, and that the food prescribed for one person, which is, you know, without ailment, without a disease, if you had two babies, one black, one white, you could both raise them both off of apples and kale. Okay, that is a point of this right now. We're not a lot of people have, you know, the African diet, the diet for the African man, or, you know, this type of diet for this person. But if we look at the China study, the China study was the largest study done in the world to show the relation between disease and what we eat, and if what we're eating causes those disease. And they found that people in the rural areas, out in the country, out in the mountains and the forests, had little to no disease because they ate little to no animals or dairy. And that the more into the city you got, the sicker they became. Okay, so so that's one thing that I really wanted to point out, is that it's not a race thing. Everybody thrives off of a vegetarian diet, a completely vegan diet. Everybody
produces superior powers, both of mind and body. Dr. M.F. Pouraise, in the American Practitioner and News of July 1902, concluded a scientific article as follows: "Let me state first that the flesh of warm-blooded animals is not essential as a diet for the purpose of maintaining the human body in perfect health." He goes on to make some further remarks, which we shall quote under our next head. The Dean of the Faculty of Jefferson Medical College of Philadelphia said, "It is a well-known fact that cereals as articles of daily food hold a high place in the human economy. They contain constituents amply sufficient to sustain life in its highest form. If the value of cereal food products were better known, it would be a good thing for the race."
For the race, for the human race. They're not talking about just one race. So they're saying that cereal foods, grains, you know what I mean? Quinoa. Well, quinoa is like a seed, right? You can sprout it and grow. A lot of people are against the grains, but we got to understand that like, be real, okay? What is less taxing on the earth? A grain of wheat or kamut, or, you know what I mean? Quinoa or oats, or flesh? Because remember, that animal also has to eat from the earth. So why go to the second source? Why not just go straight to the source, the earth?
Nations live and thrive upon them alone, sane life in its highest form. If the value of cereal food products were better known, it would be a good thing for the race. Nations live and thrive upon them alone, and it has been fully demonstrated that meat is not a necessity. There you have a number of plain statements, and all of them are taken from the writings of well-known men who have made a considerable study of the chemistry of foods. It is impossible to deny that a man can exist without this horrible flesh diet, and furthermore, that there is more nutriment in an equal amount of vegetable than of dead flesh. I could give you many other quotations, but those above mentioned are sufficient, and they are fair samples of the rest. End of section 2. Recording by Andrea Fiore. Section 3 of Vegetarianism and Occultism. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Andrea Fiore. Vegetarianism and Occultism by C.W. Leadbeater. Section 3. Less disease. Second, because many diseases come from this loathsome habit of devouring dead bodies. Here again, I could easily give you a long list of quotations, but as before, I will be satisfied with a few. Dr. Hosea Oldfield, MRCS, LRCP, writes, "Flesh is an unnatural food, and therefore tends to create functional disturbances. As it is taken in modern civilizations, it is infected with such terrible diseases, readily communicable to man, as cancer, consumption, fever, intestinal worms, etc., to an enormous extent. There is little need to wonder that flesh eating is one of the most serious causes of the diseases that carry off 99 out of every 100 people that are born." Sir Edward Saunders tells us, "Any attempt to teach mankind that beef and beer are not necessary for health and efficiency must be good, and must tend to thrift and happiness. And as this goes on, I believe we shall hear less of gout, Bright's disease, and trouble with the liver and the kidneys in the former, and less of brutality and wife-beating and murder in the latter. I believe that the tendency is towards vegetarian diet, that it will be recognized as fit and proper, and that the time is not far distant when the idea of animal food will be found revolting to civilized man." Sir Robert Christison, M.D., asserts positively that the flesh and secretions of animals affected with carbuncular diseases, analogous to anthrax, are so poisonous that those who eat the product of them are apt to suffer severely, the disease taking the form either of inflammation of the digestive canal or of an eruption of one or more carbuncles. Dr. A. Kingsford of the University of Paris said,
She's just going in right now with the doctor quotes. Like, where are these doctor quotes when you're taking your pregnant woman and you know you get that assigned nurse, you know what I mean, to monitor you, see how your pregnancy is going, and they're telling you, oh well, you sure you don't want to eat some meat? Oh, you know, I really think your pregnancy would go better if you had a little bit more iron. You should eat some liver. You should eat some steak. You know, where are all these doctors' quotes? I think that right now you guys should be writing down these doctor quotes. You know what I mean? And all the name, you know, MD, FC, MD. You know what I mean? All their credentials, and bring that with you the next time you go see your doctor or whatever, your pediatrician or whatever. You know what I mean? Let them know, hey, doctors that are way more renowned than you are telling me not to eat flesh and animal foods of any kind. So, you know, bun that. That's basically what I did when my girl was pregnant. The lady, the nurse, she was overweight. She had a Mars bar and a Coca-Cola in her purse that I checked. I saw. I was like, what? She was recommending that my girl go on a diet more like hers, like the cheese, get some more iron and like meat. I was like, wait, are you recommending her to eat meat? Like, there's millions of people in the world that don't do that. And now, what? Because we're in Canada, you think that you have the right to tell her to eat it when that's against our beliefs? Ridiculous. Don't let these nurses scare you, woman, okay? That's what they want to do. They want to scare you into going on their diet. You know what I mean? Oh, well, I eat meat and I'm too afraid to get off of it. And you should too. You really look at the doctors you're going to see. Are they healthy? Do they look better than you? Do you wish that you could look like them? Do you wish that you had enough energy, as much energy as them? Or do they look like they don't even want to be there? They're overweight, out of shape. It's just a job to them. It's not their actual lifestyle. You know, that's why I like when you guys come here, because you guys are getting information from someone who lives it, not just someone who thinks of you as another patient. Let's get it.
As animal meat may directly endanger many painful and loathsome diseases. Scrofula itself, that fecund source of suffering and death, not improbably owes its origin to flesh-eating habits. It is a curious fact that the word scrofula is derived from scrafa, a sow. To say that one has scrofula is to say that he has swine's evil. In his 5th report to the Privy Council in England, we find Professor Gamgee stating that 1/5 of the total amount of meat consumed is derived from animals killed in a state of malignant disease.
Ooh, whoa. Whew. Let's run that back.
Total amount of meat consumed is derived by Professor Gamgee stating that 1/5 of the total amount of meat consumed is derived from animals killed in a state of malignant disease.
Whoa. Now, that was back then. Imagine now with, you know what I mean, with all the industrial farming and hundreds and hundreds of cattle under the same roof. How much more disease and illness do you think is spreading? How much more potent do you think that the antibiotics have to be now? Okay. That was back then. One fifth of every animal. Say right now is 2/5 of every animal. That means basically what she's saying is they could have had a big ass tumor right beside the steak that you're eating, and you would have never known. Watch.
While Professor A. Winter Blythe, FRCS, writes, economically speaking, flesh is not necessary, and meat seriously diseased may be so prepared as to look like fairly good meat. Many an animal with advanced diseases of the lung yet shows to the naked eye no appearance in the flesh which differs from the normal.
Whoa. Okay, so the animal could have a brain cancer. They could have a cyst. They could have all of these diseases. You wouldn't know, right? You would not know, because all you're getting is a little portion, right? Now, the disease isn't just occurring in that cyst or in that tumor or whatever, or in the lungs, like they said. The whole body is clogged up. It's poisonous. It's toxic, and it is developing into a cyst or a cancer. It is localizing there, but that doesn't mean that those particles and fragments of illness and other bacterias and parasites aren't also floating through the whole body. You know what I mean? If you went up to a steak and you saw a big, like, malignant tumor on it, would you say, oh yeah, just cut the tumor off and give me the rest?
Dr. M.K. Coombs, in the article above quoted, remarks, we have many substitutes for meat, which are free from the deleterious effects of that food upon the animal economy, namely, in the production of rheumatism, gout, and all other kindred diseases, to say nothing of cerebral congestion, which frequently terminates in apoplexy, and venal diseases of one kind and another, migraine, and many other such forms of headache, resulting from the excessive use of meat, and often produced when meat is not eaten to excess. Dr. J.H. Kellogg remarks, it is interesting to note that scientific men all over the world are awakening to the fact that the flesh of animals as food is not pure nutriment, but is mixed with poisonous substances, excrementitious in character, which are the natural results of animal life. The vegetable stores up energy. It is from the vegetable world, the coal and the wood, that the energy is derived which runs our steam engines, pulls our trains, drives our steamships, and does the work of civilization. It is from the vegetable world that all animals, directly or indirectly, derive the energy which is manifested by animal life through muscular and mental work. The vegetable builds up, the animal tears down. The vegetable stores up energy, the animal expends energy. Various waste and poisonous products result from the manifestation of energy, whether by the locomotive or the animal. The working tissues of the animal are enabled to continue their activity only by the fact that they are continually washed clean by the blood, able to whether by the locomotive or the animal.
Whoa. Did you hear all of that, what she said? I'm going to run it back, because, I mean, that was profound.
The working...
We're comparing the body and how we eat plants to locomotives and steam engines. Okay, now check this out. Check this out.
The vegetable builds up, the animal tears down.
Okay, vegetable builds up, the animal, us, we're animals, the cows, so forth. We chew, we grind, we break down.
The vegetable stores up energy, the animal expends energy.
The plant stores up energy. You know, say when the winter's coming or a drastic rain is coming, they're able to sustain warmth, insulate themselves, just like a tree does with its sap. You know, it is conscious enough to know where to put its energy, and it's storing that energy up. The sun is shining it all on all. Blah, blah, blah. The sun is shining on it all day. What is the plant going to use the energy on? Like the plant doesn't have to sweep. It doesn't have to mop up. It doesn't got to bend down and, you know, tie its shoes. The plant, it blows in the wind. It rains. It gets dropped on. It's not going anywhere. It has no energy to spend itself. The animal, you and me, we are the one that need to spend. We got to wake up. We got to take care of our kids. We got things to do. We got to go to school, work. We need the energy. Where are we going to go to get it? From something that doesn't use any energy. Why go to a chicken when the chicken has just been running around all day? Why go to a cow when the cow's carrying its 800-pound body on those 4 skinny legs? It's using energy. You want to go to something that doesn't use the energy. Look.
Various waste and poisonous products result from the manifestation of energy. Various
wastes and poisonous products result from the manifestation of energy. Okay, so you have energy to go work out. You go work out. A lot of waste is produced through the skin, right? Toxins are let out. You want to run a steam engine. You throw the plants, the wood. You throw the plants into the fire, into the furnace. You know, you heat it up. It expends the energy, and what comes up the top? That carbon, that release, right? The fumes. That is what's left over from the expansion of energy. Now, if we are going to eat something and break the energy apart, what is being released? You know, is it going to be the smoke, like the locomotive engine? Is it going to be that city smoke? Well, it's a vegetable, right? So the energy that's going to be released is bioavailable nutrient. That's what we define as nutrient, right? Something that we can live off of, something that sustains us. Now, if you're going to eat flesh, when you break that down and pull it apart and your body does what it does with it, it's what it's giving off is toxic and poisonous to the body. The growth hormones, the steroids, the antibiotics, the pus, the mucus, right? The little antibodies that it had fighting its diseases. Now, wait. It gets deeper.
Whether by the locomotive or the animal, the working tissues of the animal are enabled to continue their activity only by the fact that they are continually washed clean by the blood.
So, the animal is eating all day. They're grazing. It's pulling apart the energy, right? Now, there's something that I've talked about called metabolic waste. And I've said that this metabolic waste or this metabolic debris, it happens no matter what you're digesting. If you're digesting a carrot, an apple, a steak, or an egg, there's going to be metabolic debris. I've talked about that, I think, in the earlier episodes of Green Streams, right? Now, those get stored up in the body, the things that we're breathing in that are toxic. It gets stored in the body, right? We talked about that. Now, the book just said the only way it's able to keep itself clean is because the blood is constantly flowing and washing it clean. It's constantly taking a toxic from here and throwing it into the liver, taking a toxin out of here, throwing it into the kidney. It's purifying it, and then it comes out as pee. All that waste matter, it's coming out as pee. Now, listen to this.
A never-ceasing stream flowing through and about them, carrying away the poisonous products resulting from their work as rapidly as they are formed. The venous blood owes its character to these poisons.
The venous blood, the blood in the veins, because there's blood everywhere in the body, but the venous blood,
which are removed by the kidneys, lungs, skin, and bowels. The food contains a great quantity of these poisons, the elimination of which ceases at the instant of death, although their formation continues for some time after death. An eminent French surgeon, although the lungs, blood owes its character resulting from...
Okay, so I just want to round it back so that we can fully grasp this. There's toxins being formed in the bodies all the time, by us, by animals. The only reason that we are not dying right now, you know, you eat an Oreo, you smoke a cigarette, you take alcohol. The reason why we're not dropping dead right now is because the blood is doing what it has to do to keep your pH in balance, and it's removing toxins out of you and putting it in different places. This is too toxic. Put it to the liver. Go give it to the liver. Okay. Oh, there's another type of toxic energy coming in here. Put that to the kidneys. We got to put it to the kidneys, everybody. Come on, marshal it that way. Those are the filters, right? So the blood is constantly refreshing your body. So if I cut my head off right now, there's no more blood flow to keep these pathogens at bay, to keep eating these little bacteria and maintaining your body. The histamines are gone, you know what I mean? The antibodies, they're not being produced anymore. So everything, every toxic, putrefying thing that could have developed and manifested and colonized and spread in population, all those things they wouldn't have had a chance to do because the body was alive. The cow was alive. It was living. The heart was beating. The lungs, everything was getting filtered. But you cut it and you killed it. You killed the animal. So now the blood, that river of blood that was cleaning the body before is now gone. You stopped the heartbeat. You killed the animal. Now all of those bacteria starts to grow. All of those putrefying, acidic, you know, anaerobic parasites start to grow. They have nothing. There's no more blood that's living. There's no more conscious body. There's no more breath. There's no more kidneys filtering, no more liver filtering anything anymore. So all of those bacteria that was trapped right in the moment of death, that was in the flesh, is now expanding and evolving and breeding and putrefying further and further and further, while the muscle fibers are further degrading, worse and worse and worse. And then on top of that, you cook it. I mean, I know you got to cook it to mitigate the risks, the dangers of you know, those toxins going into you. But first of all, if you like a rare steak, you're just covering up the outside. You're just getting rid of the outside pathogens. But if you cut open your steak and it's bleeding, or the blood that was trapped in there, it rushes out onto your plate, then all those pathogens and all those antibodies and putrefying anaerobic materials is going to be in that blood. And furthermore, when you've cooked it, there's so many angles. When you've cooked it, you've just now altered it. So your body did know it was flesh, which doesn't like, but now that you've cooked it and it's charred black, you know, the fat's charred black, your body does not know what to do with that. It literally cannot break it down. So what does it do? It just sits in your colon. You have a dead piece of flesh with all of those bacteria on it and nothing to clean it like it was when it was an animal. It's a dirty piece of meat, and then you further degrade it by cooking it, and then you put it in you, and it just sits in you for like 7 to 10 years. Now what? So you want to go vegan, and you stop eating meat tomorrow, and you think that you're healthier. Well, yes, you are getting healthier. I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? You're getting healthier. But just know that ever since that first piece of meat, that when you were a baby, there's still probably some sort of trace in you right now, because we haven't cleaned house. We haven't cleaned it out. Okay, so let's move forward. That was huge right there, saying that a body of an animal has a bunch of diseases in it, but the blood is constantly monitoring it. But once you kill the animal, then the diseases can spread, and then you eat that? Come on. Now, when you look at a meat eater and they're making you feel some sort of way for eating just vegetables, now you have that confidence to look at them and be like, yo, I'm good with what I'm eating. But like, where do you get your protein? I say, where do you get yours? Like, I know that the plants build up protein, the broccoli, the kale, it has protein in it built up from the amino acids. But since the animal is eating it all, yo, bro, like, I'm worried about you now, bro. Where do you get your protein from, man? I mean, the cow used it up, bro. So, and then you cooked everything that was in it out of it. So, are you feeling okay? Are you nutrient deficient, pal? Reverse the role.
From their work as rapidly as they are formed out them, carrying away the poisonous products resulting from their work as rapidly as they are formed. The venous blood owes its character to these poisons, which are removed by the kidneys, lungs, skin, and bowels. The flesh of a dead animal contains a great quantity of these poisons, the elimination of which ceases at the instant of death, although their formation continues for some time after death. An eminent French surgeon recently remarked that beef tea is a veritable source of poisons. Intelligent physicians everywhere are coming to recognize these facts and to make a practical application of them.
Beef tea is something that they had. It was quite popular in England. It's like you get a broth. It's basically a broth, right? It's like a soup. It's a broth, and it's gross. They say, drink it for iron. What a lie.
Here again, you see we have no lack of evidence, and many of the quotations with regard to the introduction of poisons into the system through flesh food are not from the vegetarian doctors, but from those who still hold it right to eat sparingly of corpses, but yet have studied, to some extent, the science of the matter. It should be remembered that dead flesh can never be in a condition of perfect health, because decay commences at the moment when the creature is killed. All sorts of products are being formed in this process of retrograde change. All of these are useless, and many of them are positively dangerous and poisonous. In the ancient scriptures of the Hindus, we find a very remarkable passage.
Check this out, guys. Ancient scripts of the Hindus. Check this out.
Which refers to the fact that even in India, some of the lower castes at that early period commenced to feed on flesh. The statement made is that in ancient times, only 3 diseases existed.
Now, she just said that the lower caste, she said even in India, when the lower castes of people started eating flesh, because remember, guys, the kings, then the queens, and the rulers, they fill themselves up with stuff, right? They're the one that are power hungry, that are tripping, okay? And they always say the salad was made by the paupers, right? The salad was made by the field people, the people living in serfdom. The poor people. They would get all that they had and put it together in a big bowl, and you have a salad, right? While the kings and the queens and the elites and the people with money would feast on flesh of animals, okay? Now, they said that in those times, 3 diseases existed amongst the lower caste system, and they were, mostly vegetarian. Well, they were vegetarian, and even up to today, you go to a Hindu restaurant, you got a lot of vegan options. So let's listen to what they say.
One of which was old age, is that in ancient times, only 3 diseases existed.
3 diseases existed.
One of which was old age, but that now, since people had commenced to eat flesh, 78 new diseases had arisen.
78 from 3, and one of them was old age, so it was really like 2, 2 diseases. I wonder what those were, you know what I mean? I mean, if one of them was old age, what was the other one? Like, insecurity. Back in India, before people ate meat, there was only 3 diseases: old age, insecurity, and some seasonal sadness. Like, you know what I mean? 3 diseases that are on the records. That's incredible. There's over 3,000 types in, you know what I mean, in New York alone. You know what I mean? I'm just joking around, but you know what I'm saying.
This shows us that the idea that disease might come from the devouring of corpses has been recognized for thousands of years. End of section 3. Recording by Andrea Fiore. Section 4 of Vegetarianism and Occultism. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Andrea Fiore. Vegetarianism and Occultism by C.W. Leadbeater. Section 4. More natural to man. Third, because man is not naturally made to be carnivorous, and therefore this horrible food is not suited to him. Here again, let me give you a few quotations to show you what authorities are ranged upon our side of the matter.
Now, she said that man is not carnivorous, never was, never will be. How can she say that? Well, look at her teeth. You can hold your fingers on your teeth and touch the tops of every single one of them, right? I got my Fang teeth here, touching top all the way to my other fang teeth, back. So that's flat. That's flat teeth. I can touch the top of all of them, right? Now, if I was a lion, my one fang tooth would be up here, and then, you know, the other teeth would be down here, and then you'd have the big sizers. You'd have that carnivorous look. And people say, well, look at my eye teeth, look at my carnivore teeth. No, it's not, because you know what? Gorillas have them too. Orangutans have them too. Hippopotamus have huge hard teeth. Fruit bats got freaking fangs, like even bigger than vampire bats, the fox bats. Fruit bats, like, yo, I'm gonna pull up a picture of a fruit bat, and you're gonna think that it eats meat because of its teeth. And I'm telling you, no, it does that because it has to break open shells of like lychee, coconut, other types of berries. Fruit bat, where the fruit bat teeth is playing with me right now. Bringing up, see, like that looks like something out of hell right there. I mean, obviously not. It's cute, and I love all animals. Look at that. If I laid my finger on that, I wouldn't be touching. You know, there would be gaps. You know what I mean? And you say, well, that's carnivore teeth. No, it's not. You know, our teeth are flat like cow teeth. They're flat. In fact, my friend bites his nails, and they're way flatter than these teeth. Look at that. Look at those nice teeth, huh? Crazy, y'all. Look at a gorilla's teeth. Come on. God damn, that's vegan right there. That's vegan power right there. Okay? So let me back it up.
Barente for this horrible food is not suited to him. Here again, let me give you a few quotations.
And we got into this because the man is naturally an herbivore. Okay, an herbivore has certain characteristics. Okay, we don't have nails that come in and come out on our will, and we don't have nails that are thick, and we don't have nails that are vertical. Okay, let me show you what I mean. Man, I've thought about this for so long. When you're vegan as long as I am, and really passionate about it, you really get thinking. You really get to, ew. You guys think that looks good? Some teeth nails right there? That's weird. You see how our nails are flat, right? They lay on top of our skin, almost like a protector, like a shell, something to scratch ourselves with, right? Scratch at rocks with, whatever. But if you look at a lion's nails, they're vertical. Okay, they go up and down. See how they're tall. They stand tall. Okay, they're not just this little flimsy little cap over the top of their finger. That is what lets them rip into animals' leather. You know, because a deer skin and a cow skin, that's hard. You think that these are gonna, you think that's gonna hook into an animal? Look at this. This is a talon. Okay, this is a tiger claw. Look at that. That is vertical. That means that once I'm in you, once I have my claws in your back, you can shake and run around, but I am not coming out. I am climbing a tree today. Okay, that's what nails these are. These kind of claws are so powerful. I would hate to be the animal that gets caught by these. And you say, oh, but we're carnivores too, and we were made to eat meat. No, you were not. Our intestines, okay? Carnivore intestines. There's herbivore intestines. Okay? Now look at this. This is just, the simplest thing that we can do right here. This is from a carnivore, what we perceive as a carnivore. And this is from an herbivore, okay? You got the deer and the fox. Now, this is what our intestinal tract looks like, okay? This is exactly what our looks like. The small intestine, the large intestines, you got the anus, you know what I mean? It comes down right there. Then you got this, you got this esophagus, the sesame, anus. It's like simple. It's like put it in, get it out. Because it's so toxic. Flesh is so toxic, people, that the animal has to kick it out as soon as possible. Okay, that's why a dog's saliva can strip your car paint. Okay, that's why it can strip your car paint. Look at this, a bunny. Look how long that is. See how long the cesium is? Look how long the cesium is here. Look how short and little the cesium is here. It doesn't have to deal with it a lot. It goes in and out, and that's why these guys they gotta, you know, they gotta hunt. They always gotta be on the hunt. You know, and animals we'll just graze, and we'll let that energy break down through us slowly. So physiologically speaking, okay, I'm not talking about just vegan because I'm a vegan. I'm talking about scientifically, biologically, physiologically speaking. We are herbivores, and that is it. We're not omnivores. We're not carnivores. We're herbivores. Let's go.
To show you what authorities are ranged upon our side of the matter. Baron Cuvier himself writes, "The natural food of man, judging from his structure, consists of fruit, roots, and vegetables." And Professor Ray tells us, "Certainly man was never made to be a carnivorous animal." Sir Richard Owen, FRCS, writes, "Anthropoids and all the quadrumana derive their alimentation from fruits, grains, and other succulent vegetable substances, and the strict analogy which exists between the structures of these animals and that of man clearly demonstrates his frugivorous nature." Another fellow of
Whoa, I gotta run that back because there are some terms there that we've never come across before, right?
derive their alimentation from made to be a carnivorous animal. Sir Richard Owen, FRCS, writes,
Anthropoids, okay, so things that, you know, look, I'll share my screen again. Anytime you hear the like word anthro, you have to think of like man, like human, okay? Anthropoids. Higher primate, especially an ape or an ape man. So, like I began to say, standing upright, can walk on all two, not always restricted to all four. Kind of have a physiological structure like a man. You know, can move his hands, can walk around. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Anthropoid. So what she's saying here, when we look at other things that look like us in nature, right? When we look at, you know, we don't want to compare ourselves to the pig and the deer or whatever, right? We're all brethren. But this doctor is specifically saying, hey, when we look at other things that kind of look like us, you know what I mean? That can walk on all two and have arms and can go, you know what I mean? Climb up and whatever. Things that look like us. What do they eat? You know, what are the things that we can put a costume on and pretend to be like a, you know, Planet of the Apes? Or you have like the Sasquatch, Bigfoot, you know what I mean? People putting fur on and walking around pretending to be the Sasquatch. These are like anthropoids, right? So what do they eat? And because if we know what they eat, that will probably give us a better insight to what we should be eating, right? Look at the animals for lessons, right? Always study the animals. So let's hear what they have to say.
And all the quadrumana derive their alimentation from fruits, grains, and other succulent vegetable substances.
Succulent vegetable substances, juicy vegetable substances, fruits, grains, juicy vegetables, huh?
And the strict analogy which exists between the structures of these animals and that of man clearly demonstrates his frugivorous nature.
Frugivorous, have you heard about that? You heard about fruitarian? Frugivorous basically is the same thing. It was just more of the, it is more of the scientific term. Fruitarian is kind of like the slang. So if you're you could be a herbivore, carnivore, or a frugivore, okay? When we look at monkeys, baboons, apes, you'll see that they eat a lot of things, a lot of tall grasses and shoots and stuff like that. But the number one thing that they go to are the fruits, the bananas and the citrus fruits, you know, the jackfruits and other stuff like that, the mangosteens, Okay, they're always having like some sort of shell, like and you know, eating it out, like the papaya or like a guava, passion fruit, right? It's the fruits. Why the fruits? Well, it's because the fruits, they have most water in them, and we are mostly liquid beings, right? Over 75% water. So you're getting hydrated, and the water in it is very clean, and it is very mineralized, right? With that liquid mineral, okay? Also, fruits are way easier to digest than vegetables. So if you have a baby, the first thing you want to start them off is the most watery types of fruits, okay? And you want to keep that up as you grow over, right until you're 40, 50, 60, 70. And if you're on this diet, 80, 90, 100, 120, you know what I mean? The fruits are just like the most simple, purest, healthy stacks of sunlight, and it doesn't rob us from our energy because, you know, it doesn't take too long to break down. We put the fruits in, and within minutes, and I'm talking about like under 10, 15 minutes, that fruit can be completely out of your stomach, okay, and absorbed in you. It's amazing, guys. So fruits.
Another fellow of the Royal Society, Professor William Lawrence, writes, "The teeth of man have not the slightest resemblance to those of carnivorous animals. And whether we consider the teeth, the jaws, or the digestive organs, the human structure closely resembles that of frugivorous animals."
Okay, we can move our jaw side to side, okay? Not everything can. An alligator, this is an alligator mouth, you know, when we're in school. An alligator, it opens, it rips and tumbles and turns, right? To rip the flesh off, and it does the barrel rolls, right? And then it has the flesh, and it like throws it up, opens down its throat. It like, you know, like the birds do. They take it and they kick it down their throat. They can't chew and grind. They go hut, 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 and it's down. A lion or a tiger, they rip the flesh and they swallow it. There's no chewing, there's no savoring, there's no this is so good. It's like it's in the mouth and down the hatch. You look at a cow grazing, or a deer, or a caribou, or elk. They go down, eat the grass. They're chewing. Look around. Chew. Pause. Chew. Look around. Chew. Go eat the grass. Chew. Pause. Chew. And then they swallow it. And if you've ever watched an elk or like a deer or a cow, most notably the cow, it'll swallow it and get these like digestive enzymes from the saliva, bring it back up into their mouth and chew and grind. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. They say they recommend you chew your food 25 to 30 chews so that you can really juice it up and get those fibers broken apart so that when it goes into you, it's just all about assimilation.
To those of carnivorous animals. And whether we consider the teeth, the jaws, or the digestive organs, the human structure closely resembles that of frugivorous animals.
Gary, I'm just going to. I don't have a lot of temperament today because I'm so excited about this, right? And so, for someone to be in the comment like just make up words and stuff like that, and just coming with the negativity, and usually I'm cool with that, and there's nothing against Gary here. It's just we're a little bit more mature, right? We're more mature than Gary is, and people like that. No disrespect, brother. Because we talk, we're good. But I'm just gonna have to block you right now. Block. Okay, cool. Let's move on, guys. Because you know, if someone's disturbing the class, you kick them out. That's what happened when I used to get kicked out of so many classes, y'all. I was just a class clown. Every report card. Oh, Corey does very well, but often is a class clown. Often is distracting. Kick him out.
Want the animals. Okay. And whether we consider the teeth, the jaws, or the digestive organs, the human structure closely resembles that of frugivorous animals. Once more, Dr. Spencer Thompson remarks, "No physiologist would dispute that man ought to live on a vegetarian diet." And Dr. Sylvester Graham writes, "Comparative anatomy proves that man is naturally a frugivorous animal, formed to subsist upon fruits, seeds, and farinaceous vegetables.
Farinaceous, fera, iron. Farinaceous vegetables, not the starch-based ones, the iron type of vegetables, okay? The long shoots, the grasses, the kales, the dandelions, okay? Farinaceous. You got to break down these words. Making up words.
Esther Graham writes, comparative anatomy proves that man is naturally a frugivorous animal.
We are naturally, we want the bananas, we want the apples, we want the coconuts, we want the papayas, the mangoes. First instinct.
To subsist upon fruits, seeds, and farinaceous vegetables. The desirability of the vegetarian diet will of course need no argument for anyone who believes in the inspiration of the scriptures. For it will be remembered that God, in speaking to Adam while in the Garden of Eden, said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat.
Whoa. Gee, we got religious on us right now.
I have given you every herb bearing seed.
I have given you every herb bearing seed. Not, he didn't say, I have given you every herb that bears seeds. They said, I have given you every herb bearing seed. I've given you the seeds to bear herbs,
which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed.
And every tree which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. Okay? A tree yielding seed is a seed that yields trees that grows fruits. So even in the Bible, we just read over that part, you know. Oh, I have given you all this, da, 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 da. Then we go to Ezekiel. Oh, the herbs are for the healing of the nations. Da, da, da. We read over it. We don't really understand. Like, wait, you're telling me that everything I need, the amino acids, the omega 369s, the fibers, the sugars, the carbohydrates, the nitrogenous matters of the proteins, all of that, the salts. You're telling me I can get them from the seeds? All I got to do is I can eat the seed and get the oils and the protein, or I can sprout it and get some, you know, some expanded salts, or I can grow it into a full tree and wait for the fruit to come. Is that what you're saying? I have all of these options over thousands. I can't put a number on it, but thousands of fruits, herbs, and vegetables and everything like that. And you want to eat the same 3 animals over and over and over again? Oh, I respect the vegan movement so much, but I don't know what I would eat. What do you guys eat? Well, I can tell you, I eat more than chickens, pigs, and cows and fish. My diet consists of thousands of things. How much does, you know what I mean? This is what I'm giving you guys, that mental confidence to really go out there, so that no matter what they say, you got something to say back. That's why I'm playing this book. So you have, oh, well, what about the protein? Well, actually, it's nitrogenous matters, and uric acid and urea also break down into nitrogen. So what protein are you getting? You know what I mean? That's why I'm doing this, guys. Let me give a quick shout out to P.ISO. Peace. What's going on, man? You appreciate the info? Thank you. I appreciate you guys for watching this. Okay. So yeah, Carlo. Yeah, I saw that quote earlier. So P.ISO, thank you very much. This definitely gives me the motivation and enthusiasm to do this. Yeah, Art of the Ether, they tell us that the vegan diet is limiting. Come on. And by the way, it's been a long time, Under the Ether. Peace and love.
To you it shall be for meat. And it was only after the fall of man, when death came into the world, that a more degraded idea of feeding came along with it. And if now we hope to rise again, to Edenic conditions, we must surely commence by abolishing unnecessary slaughter performed in order to supply us with horrible and degrading food. End of section 4. Recording by Andrea Fiore.
So crazy, guys. This book is so crazy. Man, I hope you guys go rewatch it, even just the audiobook on its own without my commentary. Now that you've listened to the commentary, really take in this book. I've listened to this book over 10 times.
Section 5 of Vegetarianism and Occultism. This LibriVox
I don't have a life.
Is in the public domain. Recording by Andrea Fiore. Vegetarianism and Occultism by C.W. Leadbeater. Section 5. Greater Strength. Fourth, Because men are stronger and better on a vegetarian diet, I know that people say, "You will be so weak if you do not eat dead flesh." As a matter of fact, this is untrue. I do not know whether there may be any people who find themselves weaker on a diet of vegetables, but I do know this, that in many athletic contests recently, the vegetarians have proved themselves the strongest and the most enduring.
Whoa, whoa. You know, a lot of people say, well, I went vegan for 2 weeks and I felt weak and I couldn't do anything. Well, are you a lifter? Are you a bodybuilder? Like, are you monitoring like every day how much you can lift and like how much energy you have every single day? Do you have like a coach that's like saying, oh, well, you woke up, you slept in today, you must be more tired? Like, what are you talking about? You felt weak after a week. Oh, I went vegan for a week and I just felt weak and sick, and so now I'm back on the meat. Oh yeah, good effort there. You must have done so well on your school projects. Now check this out.
As for example, the vegetarians have proved themselves the strongest.
The strongest? But I thought, I mean, hold on, let me share a screen with you guys because I could swear that it was a meat. Oh, it's the vegans that are the strongest right now. This man right here, Patrick, he competes in those like UK strongman, those strongman challenges, and he's a 100% vegan. He's a world record holder. Okay, strongest man in the world for these strongman competitions. This vegan here, he has the world record for the deadlift. Okay, vegan bodybuilders are so lean, so cut. Cause why? You don't have the pus. You don't have that that all the extra, like, you know, the growth hormones and the mucus filling up under your skin and hiding all that definition, you know. And I don't mean for this to look very, you know, sexually charged right now, because it's a bunch of men here and I'm talking about this, but here's a woman here. But vegan bodybuilding is taking the world by storm. People are winning championships by being vegans, and it's wonderful to see. Because really, this doesn't mean nothing, right? I mean, oh, hey, I'm the strongest man in the world. Hey, I have the record for. Okay, great. Are you smarter? How many kids did you save this month? Did you know how much? You know, I just don't see the merit in bodybuilding and competing for it. It's cool. It makes you feel good and stuff like that. That's great. But if you're bodybuilding, right, something that doesn't really have real merit in this world. You know, you've never heard the great city that was built by the bodybuilder, you know, and the bodybuilder's contribution to maths and scientists and astrology and shit like that, right? It's bodybuilding, right? It's very selfish, right? It's very self-centered, right? I'm not saying that you're selfish if you're bodybuilding. I'm saying it's very like, oh, I got to do this and I got to work harder and I don't feel this and I'm not getting cut enough and I need more of this. I need me, right? It's very like, right? So to do that, which is fine, everybody does what they want. But if you're gonna do that and include animals in your diet, then you're doing something that's very, it's not very remarkable, and you're killing like twice the amount of animals. You're paying for twice the amount of animals to be slaughtered than your normal person was, because you got to get your ketones and you got to get your proteins and you got to get your aminos and all that stuff, right? So you can do that, like I just showed you with vegan bodybuilding, and then all those thousands of victims, they don't have to be victims anymore, and you don't have to use your body as a graveyard anymore, because that's where they're finding out resting places in your bowels. Let's go.
The most enduring. As for example, in the recent cycling races in Germany, where all those who took high places in the race were vegetarian. There have been many such trials, and they show that, other things being equal, the man who takes pure food succeeds better. We have to face facts, and in this case, the facts are all ranged on one side, as against foolish prejudices and loathsome lust on the other. The reason was plainly given by Dr. J.D. Craig, who writes, "Vigor of the body is often boasted by flesh eaters, particularly if they live mostly in the open air. But there is peculiarity about them, and they have not the endurance of vegetarians. The reason of this is that flesh meat is already on the downward path of retrograde change, and as a consequence, its presence in the tissues is of short duration. The to it in the body of the animal from which it was taken is reinforced by another impulse in the second one, and for these reasons, what energy it does contain is soon given out, and there are urgent demands for more to take its place.
Okay.
The reason of this peculiarity about them, and they have peculiarly if they live mostly in the open air.
Okay, I rewound it. It is said that the endurance comes from the plant eaters, right? People, it's peculiar because people that eat meat, they don't have that endurance. Okay, she's gonna get into it. She's gonna expound on it. But one thing that I want to quickly say right now is that if you think right now that you're eating meat and you think that it gives you the energy, and you go to the gym and you eat your steak and whatever, you eat your chicken wings, and you think that you're loading up on protein and carbs, and then you go to the gym and you're thinking that that is going to translate into protein, you're very mistaken. Because like she just said, the body's the carcass of the animal is already on a downward path. It's already degrading. If I was to die right now, somebody came in and I'm like, oh, and then they cut my head and I'm dead. Okay, I'm dead. If somebody finds me tomorrow, I'll look pale and I'll be cold. But if somebody finds me in 2 months, I will not look the same at all. Okay, there'll be a foul smell. There'll be flies everywhere, maggots. All the dirty stuff from inside is now going to just be growing and growing because there's no breath and there's no cleansing blood to carry it away in the pee. My feces and my bladder is going to expand from the gases and make my stomach look all big maybe, and you can pop it and it's going to explode, or they're foaming up there. It's creating the pus. There's a bunch of maggots. You know what I mean? It's decomposing. If you unfortunately buried somebody and you put them in the casket, right? You go to the viewing, you see their body, they're cold, they got their mouth like sewn together and all that shit, right? They got the makeup on them. They don't smell foul and whatever. They've already been treated and whatever. But then you're gonna put them in the ground. Imagine how they would look in a month, in a year, in 2 years. Well, how do you think that the steak that you ate 5 years ago looks in your colon right now? Because I told you, if you are not cleaning out the meat that is undigestible by us, is still sitting in your little colon pockets, okay, in your cesium ripples. And what do you think it smells like? Maybe it smells like when every time you go or every time you pass gas, that foul odor, that does not come from a 2-hour-old pear. It doesn't come from a 5-hour-old watermelon. That comes from bodies, carcasses, eggs, and dairy, cheeses that have been in your system for years, and they're still not out. So I just wanted to drop that in and maybe make you a little sick to your stomach, but that's a good thing, right? That motivates. Let's go.
But there is peculiarity about them, and they have not the endurance of vegetarians. The reason of this is that flesh meat is already on the downward path of retrograde change, and as a consequence, its presence in the tissues is of short duration. The impetus given to it in the body of the animal from which it was taken is reinforced by another impulse in the second one, and for these reasons, what energy it does contain is soon given out, and there are urgent demands for more to take its place. The flesh eater, then, may do a large amount of work in a short time if well fed. He soon gets hungry, however, and when so, becomes weak. On the other hand,
when they become hungry, they become weak because their drug, that flesh, the antibiotics, the steroids, is now leaving their system, and their system needs more. It's like an addiction. And when you eat a steak, you're working. When I work with people that eat like whatever, they'll go out and get their wings and their burger or a steak or whatever, and they'll come back and they don't even want to work anymore. I've eaten my vegan meal. I'm ready to go. I don't need no break. I don't need no 5 minute. Let me just digest this. Let's go. I'm right back up and ready to go, because my body knows that everything I just took in, it can use. When you take flesh in the body goes, oh, great. Now what are we going to do? No, let's just go to knock this guy out, put him to sleep so we can deal with this turkey dinner he just put in us. He had damn near killed us with that bacon. So put him to sleep, make him tired so he stops eating, and we can deal with what he just gave us. That's exactly what your body's doing. Because you'll notice every time that these meat eaters, they go to a big feast or whatever, they're sleeping, they're passed out, or they're too tired to do anything. Well, the vegan is ready to go. The cow is ready to work. The lion is ready to chill. And that's all I'm saying for a bit.
And vegetable products are of slow digestion. They contain all of the original store of energy and no poisons. Their retrograde change is less rapid than meat, having just commenced.
Right. The retrograde change in plants are less rapid because it just started. You just picked that kale and put it in, into the box and sent it to the grocery store or whatever. You just pick that apple off the tree. It's now in the truck on this way to the depot. It goes to the grocery store. You get that apple. You bite it. When you bite that apple and you see it going brown, that's the retrograde change. Now it's oxidizing. Now it's gonna start to smell like liquor. When you bite it, it's gonna start to have that alcohol-y kind of taste. That's it breaking down, and it does it very, very slowly. You put it in your mouth, you chew up the kale, and the fibers, it's breaking down through you very, very slow. So it's got energy to give off. The whole way, it's just giving its energy. It's giving its life form up. Take the protein, take the calcium, take the iron, all the way. Even to the points where sometimes you could poo out and still see like vegetable matter in there, like long pieces of celery or like strings of thyme or kale and corn or whatever. You know what I mean? You can still see that plant matter in there, but you would never know the difference between the chicken and the poo. The chicken and the cow flesh in your poo. You'd think of it as just one big mass. You don't know the difference, right? The retrograde change, that downgrade, the degrading of that flesh, that happened as soon as that animal was bled and hung and skinned and sliced up. That's when the change started happening. And then they pack it away and maybe freeze it. And then they add a gas to it to make it stay red. And then it goes to your store. Then you buy it. Then you put it in your freezer at home. And then maybe, a week later, sometimes that night, or sometimes a month or even a year later, you still have that piece of, beef in your freezer. And then you cook it up. You cook it, which further degrades it. And then you eat it. And then you think somehow you have energy. I don't get it. I don't get it. And I am kind of borderline. It's kind of eating at me. It's like making me crazy. I had to think, how did I do that for so long? Like, I used to be on the ball team, track team, soccer team. I would wake up and go to soccer practice, go to ball practice, stay after school, do high jump, long jump, cross country, take home all the medals in cross country. You can't beat me at a cross country run. How did I do that? Eating what I ate, the buffalo wings, the cheese strings, the Go-Gurts, yogurt to go, the Dunkaroos. I don't know. I wish, that my parents raised me vegan. And that's why I'm raising my child vegan. Because every endeavor that she's going to do, violin, track and field, whatever she wants to do, she's going to be able to do it better and longer than she would have been able to do it on me. Okay? So, it's eating a plant compared to eating meat is like a man walking down the street with 2,000 flyers compared to the man walking down with only 2 flyers. Okay, think about this. Okay, the street is your colon, your intestines. Okay, the man with the flyers, that's the food. If you eat kale, you're taking a man with 2,000 flyers and he's giving it out. Come to the show, come to the show, come to the show, come to the show. He's spending all that energy. He's handing out the flyers. Come to the show, come to the show. Oh, the whole 2-mile street, he's handing out those flyers. But if you eat a steak with only, which is the man with only like 5 flyers in his hand, it's very far in between where he's handing out the flyer, which is the information. Here, you take a flyer. Then maybe they don't look like they'll come. Here, maybe you'll come. You take a flyer. You have to be a lot more selective. And the man with the 5 flyers, he's only gonna make it, to the first light of the street before all of his flyers are gone. There's no more energy for him to give. There's no more flyers for him to hand out. That steak, that man with the 5 flyers, he done got rid of all of his flyers already. He needs to re-up now. He's hungry again. You know what I mean? The man, the kale that we eat with the 2,000 flyers, 500 flyers, whatever. He's walking down the whole street handing out flyers to everybody he sees. That is what the kale does. When you have a piece of meat, that it doesn't give off light. It putrefies, whatever. It's done. When you eat the kale, it has all of those amino acids and the minerals like the manganese and the iron and the copper and everything. And it has the chlorophyll in it. You know what I mean? It has oxygen in it and water in it. Life-giving property doesn't have. So it's giving it out down the street, the whole street. And that is why vegans have so much more energy, because the food that they're giving, it gives off its energy much, much slower. Okay? Woo!
And therefore, their force is released more slowly with less loss. And the person nourished by them can work for a long time without food if necessary, and without discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
The people in Europe who abstain from flesh are of the better and more intelligent class, and the subject of endurance has been approached and thoroughly investigated by them. In Germany and England, a number of notable athletic contests that required endurance have been made between flesh eaters and vegetarians, with the result that the vegetarian has invariably come off victorious. We shall find, if we investigate, that this fact has been known for a long time, for even in ancient history, we find traces of it. It will be recollected that of all the tribes of Greeks, the strongest and the most enduring, by universal admission and reputation, were the Spartans.
Whoa, the Spartans? I've heard of the Spartans. They were, the crazy warriors. You can't beat them. The Spartans, they were fierce and powerful. What did they eat?
And the simplicity of their vegetable diet is a matter of common knowledge. Think, too, of the Greek athletes.
Greek athletes? What? They were at the top of the game with the Olympics. What do they have to say about the Greeks?
Those who prepared themselves with such care for participation in the Olympian and Isthmian Games. If you will read the classics, you will find that these men, who in their own line surpassed all the rest of the world, lived upon figs, nuts, cheese, and maize.
Figs, nuts, cheese, and maize. Well, first of all, let's deal with the cheese. Cheese, first of all, goat cheese is alkaline. Goat milk is alkaline, okay? Doesn't mean you should eat it, because remember, it's still going to come with a lot of growth hormones and steroids. Now, if you found a goat in the pasture, if you're just walking around, somehow you're in a country and there's nobody around and there's a goat, what inside of you would say, oh my God, I want to suck its boobs right now. I want to suck those nipples. I want the milk. There's nothing that says that to you. So the cheese, yes, but remember, they were already introduced, they were already indoctrinated, so they had it. They had the cheese, okay? But they ate it still, okay? They ate it, but mainly they said that fruits, nuts, and the cheese.
As all the rest of the world. If you will read the classics, you will find that these men, who in their own line surpass all the rest of the world, lived upon figs, nuts, cheese, and maize.
And maize. So maize is obviously a denatured corn, something that you can be planted anywhere. But basically, the 3 of the 4 things that she named were vegetables. Come from the plant kingdom, and then one of them came from the animal, the cheese. Now disregard that, but pay attention to the fact that these Olympians, top of the game, they were very selective about their diet. But let's look at the NBA eaters and people that play in the NFL and stuff like that, and especially Major League Baseball, drinking beers and pounding back wings after the game and stuff like that. I think how much better, how much more superior they could be at their sport if they just ate the things that were not taxing, just the vegetables.
Then there were the Roman gladiators.
Gladiators? The Roman gladiators. Okay, those were the ones that would perform in the big, with the tie, Are you not entertained? The gladiators. Okay, okay, okay.
Men on whose strength depended their life and fame. And yet we find that their diet consisted exclusively of barley cakes and oil.
Barley cakes and oil. I remember that. I was in school and they would have those big pots of barley cakes. We learned about that. Why the Spartans, the Olympians, whatever, and just now the gladiators, why didn't they say anything about they depended on steaks and they needed rump roast every night and before every match they would eat tenderloins? Where's all the eggs? What about the protein in the eggs?
They knew well that this was the most strengthening food.
The most strengthening food. You look at a cow, you look at a buffalo, you look at a bison, you look at these big elks and rams and caribou, moose. They're jacked, they're shredded. Okay. Let me just share my screen quickly because I want you to see that you can look good by doing like very little. Okay. These I don't know if you've ever seen an elk, but I have. I used to live where there was elk. These guys are massive. They're taller than you, okay, for sure. But they're solid. They're solid muscle, guys. If you look at an oxen, solid muscle, guys. I mean, you couldn't, if you punched this oxen in the shoulder, it would slowly turn its head and look at you like, why did you do that? It wouldn't phase it at all. Okay. The all they eat is grass and seeds that are found in the grass. That's it. So let's get it.
All these examples show us that the common and persistent fallacy that one must eat flesh in order to be strong has no foundation in fact. Indeed, the exact contrary is true. Charles Darwin remarked in one of his letters, "The most extraordinary workers I ever saw, the laborers in the mines of Chile, live exclusively on vegetable food, including many seeds of leguminous plants."
The miners in Chile survive exclusively off of the plants. So wait a minute, we have tribes today that are still vegan. That really goes in the face of evolutionists saying that the reason why we are so smart above animals is the very fact that we ate animals. Check that out. They say that the reason why man is much more developed intellectually than animals is because man ate animals.
Of the same miners, Sir Francis Head writes, "It is usual for the copper miners of central Chile to carry loads of ore of 200 pounds weight up 80 perpendicular yards 12 times a day, and their diet is entirely vegetarian, a breakfast of figs and small loaves of bread, a dinner of boiled beans, and a supper of roasted wheat." Mr. F.T. Wood, in his Discoveries at Ephesus, writes, "The Turkish porters in Smyrna often carry from 400 to 600 pounds weight on their backs, and the captain one day pointed out to me one of his men who had carried an enormous bale of merchandise, weighing 800 pounds, up an incline into an upper warehouse, so that with this frugal diet, their strength was unusually great." Of these same Turks, Sir William Fairbairn has said, "The Turk can live and fight where soldiers of any other nationality would starve. His simple habits, his abstinence from intoxicating liquors, and his normal vegetarian diet enable him to suffer the greatest hardships and to exist on the scantiest and simplest of foods."
Ooh, damn. Okay, so they were saying about the same Turkish people, their soldiers can live in the most extreme, harshest conditions and the most uncomfortable conditions. Why? Because their diet was the simplest. Guys, when you're used to the complexities, when you're used to the luxuries, when you're used to the steaks and the eggs, when you suddenly have a change of environment, when you're in a place where you don't have those things anymore, you guys are the one that's complaining first. While the conscious vegan who fasts regularly, they're not complaining at all. Like, you know what I mean? We're good. We are much more tempered and we can handle different situations because you know why? It happens to us at least 3 times a day. Think about it. Go to a drive-thru. You go to a restaurant, whatever. You're taking your girl out. You go out with your family. Let's order dinner. Oh, let me see the menu. Oh, I can't have this. Is there any way you can kind of do this or switch it around for me? No, you know what? Never mind. Never mind. I'll just go eat somewhere else. No, you guys eat first. I brought my food. Or eat first, and I'll just go and get something. Or you know what I mean? It's we're constantly a vegan. You know what I mean? It's constantly met with a hurdle. You know what I mean? And we're constantly either having to fight the battle or run from the battle. You know, we have to choose our battles. So, you know, you could get all mad and say, oh, well, you should have something vegan for us or whatever the case is. We're used to it. So if you're living on a simple diet, if you can survive off just nuts, fruits, and seeds, then when you're out there, you know, in the trenches, or when you're like on a stakeout, or like, you know, or you're in a disaster, trapped in a mine, and you can't get out for 24 or 48 hours, or your flight's canceled and now you got to stay in the airport, but you have no more money to eat. The people that are used to those luxuries and eating whatever they want, they're going to be the ones to bitch up and suffer first before the person that is constantly having to do that. Like, my life every day is a struggle because you know, I'm choosing to nourish myself without animals, without the use of somebody else. I don't need them. I don't need you to kill that being so I can live. I know how to live. I eat nuts and seeds and flowers and leaves and shit. Like, I don't need that extra stuff. But for the people that have those extras, they're the one that they're gonna call it quits first. Okay, and that's just basic science, even when it comes to what we call immunity, which that's not what the show's on, but that was just a little tidbit right there. So let's get back into this, because it's only going to get deeper from here. If you guys thought that this was good, this like past hour was good, just wait. It gets friggin' deep. Let's go, y'all.
I myself can bear witness to the enormous strength displayed by the vegetarian Tamil coolies of the south of India, for I have frequently seen them carry loads which astonished me. I remember in one case, standing upon the deck of a steamer, and watching one of these coolies take a huge case upon his back, and walk slowly but steadily down a plank to the shore with it, and deposit it in a shed. The captain standing by me remarked with surprise, "Why, it took 4 English laborers to get that case on board in the docks at London." I have also seen another of these coolies, after having had a great piano put on his back, carry it unaided for a considerable distance. Yet these men are entirely vegetarian, for they live chiefly upon rice and water.
You know what's crazy is that I have a friend that's so like image obsessed, right? And he works out all the time, and he's always posting pictures of himself like in the change room of the gym, like banged out another workout, or like ready to go out tonight or something like that. Like, oh, I can't stand when guys do that. Like, why are you posting photos of you just after your workout? It's natural. You're a man. You're supposed to be out there going and getting dirty and lifting things up. It shouldn't be like a surprise. Hey, look, surprise, I'm lifting weights, guys. I'm doing manly things. Like, come on, right? But furthermore, right, my friend works out. His arms are thicker diameter. Now, I know how to get more jacked than him, because we went to college together. He's my longtime friend, longtime buddy. And he was never vegan. I was. And I got more jacked way quicker than him. But then, you know, other things got in the way. I changed schools and whatever. And I didn't work at the gym anymore. So I let it go. And I went back down to my natural thinness while he stayed increasing his size, right? So he's there, he's getting bigger and bigger and posting more and more about his abs and his biceps and stuff like that, right? Whatever, right? Call him over to my house. Hey, yo, bro, my dad needs us to lift this TV from the basement. It's one of those old TVs with the bubble screen and the big projector back, right? He's like, yeah, no problem. Yeah. Now, the thing about working out is it's very easy to lift a dumbbell. It's very easy to lift a barbell, you know, or to pull some resistance straps. It's simple. I mean, you can increase the weight and it'll be tougher, but it's simple. It's up and it's down. You pick it up and you set it back down. But real life moving things, lifting logs, you know, cutting down a tree and lifting up the branches and bear hugging it, you know what I mean? Climbing a tree with a bear hug. That's a different type of strength, right? You follow? So he's like, yeah, no problem. I'm like, okay. Yeah, it should be no problem. Kevin, he works out. He's good, right? He works out. It's no problem. Comes over to my house. We go to the basement, get the TV in our hands. I'm walking up the stairs. He's walking up the stairs. Guess who else to say, oh, wait, stop. Not the vegan. I didn't say it. I was like, what's wrong? It's like, I gotta sit down. It's heavy. I'm like, heavy? I'm like, and I said to him, I'm like, bro, heavy? You go to the gym, man. What are you working out for? What's all these muscles for if you can't lift anything? You know what I mean? Here I am, my natural weight, not working out or whatever. Lifting this TV, no problem. Why is that? Because again, the proteins, these are found, the energy is found only in the plants, guys, only in the plants.
With perhaps, occasionally, a little tamarind for flavoring, upon right considerable distance. Yet these men are entirely vegetarian, for they live chiefly upon rice and water, with perhaps, occasionally, a little tamarind for flavoring. On the same subject, Dr. Alexander Haig, whom we have already quoted, writes, "The effect of getting free from uric acid has been to make my bodily powers quite as great as they were 15 years ago. I scarcely believe that even 15 years ago I could have undertaken the exercise in which I now indulge with absolute impunity, with freedom from
you get
fatigue and distress
younger. You feel younger when you get that uric acid, urea out, and all that other pus and mucus. You feel younger. You feel like you wake up earlier. You go to bed later. You have so much energy. And everybody in the chat right now that can attest to that, put a 1 in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat right now if you went vegan and you still are, and you have more energy now than you ever have before. Put a 1 in the chat. Let's go.
Years ago. I scarcely believe that even 15 years ago I could have undertaken the exercise in which I now indulge with absolute impunity, with freedom from fatigue and distress at the time, and from stiffness next day. Indeed, I often say that it is impossible now to tire me, and relatively, I believe this is true. This distinguished physician became a vegetarian because from his study of the diseases caused by the presence of uric acid in the system, he discovered that flesh eating was the chief source of this deadly poison. Another interesting point which he mentions is that his change of diet brought about in him a distinct change of disposition, that whereas he found himself constantly nervous and irritable, he now became much steadier and calmer and less angry.
And somebody in the chat said that their parents was like, yo, you seem much more calm. And then the person was like, yeah, well, get off the meat. I'm way more loving and empathetic towards everybody now. Your disposition changes. What you eat makes you. You are what you eat. If you're eating things that came from violence, you're gonna have violent thoughts and a violent disposition. And no, I'm not on. And no, I'm not on Facebook. I don't use Facebook. I think it's the worst.
He fully realizes that this is due to the change in his food. If we require any further evidence, we have it close to our hand in the animal kingdom. We shall observe that there, the carnivora are not the strongest, but that all the work of the world is done by the herbivora.
Whoa, wait, what? Hold on.
We have it close to our hand in the animal kingdom. We shall observe that there, the carnivora are not the strongest, but that all the work of the world is done by the herbivora.
What? I never even realized that. Well, I did. I'm acting right now. I'm joking. We say, where do you get your protein? You got your buddies that go to the gym and they load up on their beef, or maybe people that are close to their culture. Oh, I can't give up my oxtail. I can't give up my fish like it was your fish. Did you feed the fish? Did you watch it swim? Did you take care of it? Did you nurture in the birthing process? What do you mean your fish? You love your fish? I love my meat. I love my steak. Oh, it's your steak. Oh, you raised it? I thought we were at the keg. Are we in your backyard? It's yours? Your steak? You know what I mean? This ownership mentality. This, I can walk on 2 legs and I can say words and I can build buildings, so I deserve to eat anything I want to eat. That kind of, I'm better than anything, and you know, that kind of mentality. I love my chicken, your chicken. What? Now, if we say that, where do you get your protein, bro? I get my protein from steaks, and that's how I'm so strong. You got to get more protein and work out. Then why is it that when we go into the animal kingdom, which is all around us, we only use vegans to work? We don't. If our employment sector was like our industry, if it was like a farm or something, only vegans would be employed. You realize that? All you carnivores would not be working. Okay? You guys would crap out too easy. You guys give up too easy. You want too many breaks. Let's get it.
By horses, mules, oxen, elephants, and camels. We do not.
Horses. Hold on, guys. I hear my baby crying. One moment. One moment. Just give me a second. Oh, parental duties, you know, guys. I wanna give you guys this information, but I got a child, and so I gotta juggle both. You guys, I hope you guys can understand that. Okay, so let's get back right into it.
Not find that men can utilize the lion or the tiger, or that the strength of these savage flesh eaters is at all equal to that of those who assimilate directly from the vegetable kingdom.
Okay,
We do not
so
by horse longest.
So she's saying that you'll never catch a tiger on the farm. And I don't mean just because we're in Canada. I mean, you go to over to you go to Africa. You know, you pick a country that you want. I've been to Malawi, Zimbabwe, and Mozambique, so I'll speak on those. I have never, in those 3 countries, I have never seen a carnivore pulling a plow.
We shall observe that there the carnivora are not the strongest, but that all the work of the world is done by the herbivora, by horses, mules, oxen, elephants, and camels.
Donkeys, you know what I mean? You name it. Those work animals, those beasts of burden, they're all vegan. It's like a smack in the face to think that a vegan, one of your friends, is weaker. If you're in the chat right now and you're like, damn, man, like I want to go vegan so bad, keep this in mind, man. You will never feel as strong as you do as soon as you take that chicken out of your diet, the turkey out of your, whatever that last thing is to go. I saw in the comments, I got rid of eggs, milk, fish, whatever, but I'm still on the chicken. You know, black people, it's hard for us to get up that bird. I don't know why we like eating birds so much, but we fucks with birds. And like, you know, I think the white man prefers like pigs and steak, you know, not the white man, you know what I'm saying? Brothers are, you know, we love the chicken. That is a stereotype. That's our stereotype. We just love the chicken, barbecue chicken, whatever kind of chicken, right? And chicken was the last to go for me. I talked to some brothers on Bro Sanchez's channel. They're vegetarian, except they're eating chicken now. So fish out in the Orient, you know, in Japan, the fish, you take away their fish, that's their main thing. That to them, it's the fish. So different cultures have their different animal like they go to. Like in the Middle East, they love the goat. They love their goat in the Middle East. It's not their goat though. But we're gonna continue this. But we just noticed that everywhere you go, there's vegan animals working on the farm and not the carnivore. So if you are sitting there and you want to go vegan, think about how strong you're gonna be. Okay.
Find that men can utilize the lion or the tiger, or we shall observe that there the carnivora are not the strongest, but that all the work of the world is done by the herbivora, by horses, mules, oxen, elephants, and camels. We do not find that men can utilize the lion or the tiger, or that the strength of these savage flesh eaters is at all equal to that of those who assimilate directly from the vegetable kingdom.
There's no way. She's saying there's no way a lion, you can put like a, you know, like a rope or something around a lion's neck and it can pull that plow through that mud and through the soil. It's pulling, and you're sitting on the back and you got the carrot in front, or you're whipping it, and you know you're steering it for the cow to walk straight. Sometimes you got 2 cows and you're pulling this massive plow. Guys, the strength of the vegan, the plant eater from the animal world, it far outnumbers the carnivora. So what do you want to be? Do you want to be a strong, healthy vegan, or do you want to be a weak, lazy carnivore that doesn't even want to do it? I'm too tired. Let me just chill out. I just ate this meal. Bun that, yo. Life. 100% on the time. Always on. Always on.
End of section 5. Recording by Andrea Fiore. Section 6 of Vegetarianism and Occultism. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Andrea Fiore. Vegetarianism and Occultism by C.W. Leadbeater. Section 6. Less animal passion. Fifth, because the eating of dead bodies leads to indulgence in drink and increases animal passions in man, Mr. H.P. Fowler, who has studied and lectured on dipsomania for 40 years, declares that the use of flesh foods, by the excitation that it exercises on the nervous system, prepares the way for habits of intemperance in everything, and the more flesh is consumed, the more serious is the danger of confirmed alcoholism. Many experienced physicians have made similar experiments and wisely act on them in their treatment of dipsomaniacs. The lower part of man's nature is undoubtedly intensified by the habit of feeding upon corpses. Even after eating a full meal of such horrible material, a man still feels unsatisfied, for he is still conscious of a vague, uncomfortable sense of want, and consequently, he suffers greatly from nervous strain. This craving is the hunger of the bodily tissues, which cannot be renewed by the poor stuff offered to them as food. To satisfy this vague craving, or rather to appease these restless nerves so that it will no longer be felt, recourse is often had to stimulants. Sometimes alcoholic beverages are taken, sometimes an attempt is made to allay these feelings with black coffee, and at other times strong tobacco is used in the endeavor to soothe the irritated, exhausted nerves. Here we have the beginning of intemperance, for in the majority of cases, intemperance began in the attempt to allay, with alcoholic stimulants, the vague, uncomfortable sense of want, which follows the eating of impoverished food, food that does not feed.
You eat the food. You're expecting to get some sort of reciprocation, right? We've talked about this in earlier episodes. When you eat a food that is a fraction, it's not a whole food, it doesn't have the ingredients to balance out the energy that you're taking by digesting it. So you put in a steak. Your body works very hard to try to get it broken down. But the steak doesn't have enough life-giving properties to give to you. So you end up in a deficit. That deficit is gonna, you have just used more energy than the food gave you. So you're in a deficit. So now that deficit causes you to look through it for something else. You know, I didn't get those specific tissue salts that I need to recover my muscles. So now I got to go to a liquor. Now we go to the liquor, we see it's made from apples, right? Appleton rum, for example. You see the apple or potato, I don't care, whatever it is. Whatever your liquor is made from, you look at it and you see it's a plant-based liquor. You know, Appleton's made from apples, and you consume it. When you consume that liquor, there are very specialized minerals in there. So you still have your trace minerals of your irons and your manganese and stuff like that in the liquor, okay? In the liquor. It's in another form of it. But when you drink it, your body says, okay, that I can use that iron. I can actually use that. It's alcoholic and it's offending to me, but yo, I need this iron to complete this piece of the pie here because they ate a steak and they left me in a deficit. So now that I know I can get those little trace minerals from the liquor, from the beer, from the cigarettes, then that's going to be my go-to. Okay, I'm eating steak, potatoes. I'm not being full. I'm not being filled up and properly nourished. I need some more ingredients here. The last place that this guy got it from was the liquor. Tell him to go to the liquor again. Then you eat the steak, deficit, liquor, always trying to replenish. But it's the never-ending story because it's the carrot in front of the donkey, because even when you go to the liquor, then you're replenishing yourself even more. So it's a very slippery slope, what they call it, and it's like it's a cycle of death. You know, you're addicted to something. You go to a substance to try to supplement or to put back in what you've lost, and then that even further degrades it. So you eat a steak, and your body says, "I need more." Go to the liquor. You go to the liquor, and then it further degrades you. Then you get hungry and you say, okay, I'm going to eat a steak. Your body says, I didn't get anything from that steak. You need to go back to the liquor. So it's just this constant flip-flopping. The only way, guys, to get rid of this cycle is to go back to my green stream episode 5 and 6, which dealt with transitioning diet into the plant-based and detoxing. And that is the only way. You have to get rid of that intemperance. Okay, your nerves, like it said, your nerves are used to feeling a certain irritability, and when there's no irritability around, they crave it, right? So it wants you to go to the meat and back to the popcorn and back to the chips. But when you say no, I'm done, and you get that intemperance out of you right now, you know, you quit smoking or you quit drinking, and you're very bitchy, and it was like a week or 2 weeks. Get that out of the way, so now you can just live a full happy life. Okay, let's get it. Let's keep going.
There is no doubt that drunkenness and all the poverty, wretchedness, disease, and crime associated with it may frequently be traced to errors of feeding. We might follow out this line of thought indefinitely. We might speak of the irritability, occasionally culminating in insanity, which is now acknowledged by all authorities to be a frequent result of erroneous feeding. We might mention 100 familiar symptoms of indigestion and explain that indigestion is always the result of incorrect feeding. Truly, however, enough has been said to indicate the importance and far-reaching influence of a pure diet upon the welfare of the individual and of the race. Mr. Bramwell Booth, the chief of the Salvation Army, has issued a pronunciamento upon the subject of vegetarianism, in which he speaks strongly and decidedly in its favor, giving a list of no less than 19 good reasons why men should abstain from the eating of flesh. He insists that a vegetarian diet is necessary to purity, to chastity, and to the perfect control of the appetites and passions, which are so often the source of great temptation. He remarks that the growth of meat eating among the people is one of the causes of the increase of drunkenness, and that it also favors indolence, sleepiness, want of energy, indigestion, constipation, and other like miseries and degradations.
Damn. I mean, like, that list seems like it's never ending. Like, if you know somebody that is on meat, now you're looking at them like, yo, you're constipated, you know, this and that, and you know what I mean? Like, you're really breaking them down. Hey, you want to go for lunch with me? Oh, yeah, where do you want to go? Let's go to the Keg Steakhouse. Then now you said that, now that you said that, I'm looking at you, yeah, you kind of do sleep in a lot, and you after your work, you kind of just want to go home and chill, and it's this like modality of people that eat meat and eggs and cheese and all that. It's like a typicalness, like and it's the same with veganism too. Oh, you're vegan? Oh, you probably love to, like, walk barefoot and hug trees. Well, yeah, actually I do. You know what I mean? Like, you develop certain perspectives, like we said, and get rid of different types of temperaments. So that's very interesting that they say this. Let's go on to see what else they have to say.
Increase of drunkenness, and that it also favors indolence, sleepiness, want of energy, indigestion, constipation, and other like miseries and degradations. He also states that eczema, piles, worms, dysentery, and severe headaches are frequently brought on by flesh diet.
Eczema, the skin? But how does that? Everything is working together. There was this one girl, and I want to tell you about this case. There was this one girl, she was almost vegan, but she said, I just can't give up the dairy. I love cheese. I love my cheese. That typical. She in a separate conversation, she says, oh, ever since I went like almost vegan, vegetarian, my body has become, so curvy. I lost a lot of weight, and now you can see my curves, but my ankles are still thick, she said. I'm like, your ankles are still thick? And I'm looking at her ankles. I'm like, yeah, her calf goes like right down into her foot, like cankles. But I was like, wow, this girl's thin. Like, she's tall. She's tall, beautiful, thin. But she had eczema. And I said, oh, how long have you been dealing with the eczema? She said, well, all my life, but since I've gotten rid of all the meat and eggs, right? And then she said, it was so bad, I would go to like work meetings and like scratch my eyelid, and like a crust layer of my eyelid would fall on the paper that everybody in the group is looking at. And oftentimes she would cry and get out of the room and run away. You know what I mean? So embarrassing, right? When you're scratching off flakes of your neck, you know, because of this eczema. So because of the ankle thing and because of the eczema thing, I said, well, why don't you just stop the dairy? Have you ever thought about giving up? He's like, well, no, I've never thought about that. Nobody's ever recommended that. I'm like, wow, nobody's ever recommended to you. And you're like crying over this, right? I'm like, give up the dairy for about a month, you know, see what happens. Now she was looking for another job elsewhere, and I was working at Lush Cosmetics. It's a company that doesn't do animal testing, guy and girl products, really good. I'm working there. I'm breaking open boxing, smelling the bath bombs, and she's like, "Hey, Corey," and I look over, and it's just a silhouette because there's light behind her in the mall. And she walks closer. I didn't know who it was. Like, I'm an artist. I know who people are from their body type. My friends, I have twin friends, right? My best friends are twins, and till this day, people mix them up. They can't tell one from the other. I can tell the difference between those two if I saw just the silhouettes from 2 miles away, from the way they walk, from their mannerisms, whatever. So when this person walked up and I didn't know who it was, I was like, what? Like, who is this? Why does this person know me and I don't know who they are? She came closer and I realized it was this girl, and she was back from up north. And I said to her, the first thing I said, oh my God, you look great. Like, you look great. And then I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, I came in, I was just in town. I had to tell you, I've been off of dairy for the past like month and I just feel great. And I knew that would happen. If you know thin people with thick ankles, like women, it's the dairy, it's the cheese, it's that stubborn weight, okay? It's collecting there. And so anyway, so she's like, thank you so much. And oh my God, I can't believe. So she's still vegan, and that happened like 6 years ago. So that I was really proud of that. But that I just wanted to say that, like, you may think that your daughter or your son has like a condition for their scalp or a condition on their elbows or in their eyes or ears, but it could be you don't know where the problem is going to manifest, right? So just get them off the whole thing, go back to the natural diet, the pure diet, and you're going to get pure results, baby. Let's go.
And that he believes the great increase in consumption and cancer during the last 100 years to have been caused by the corresponding increase in the use of animal food. End of section 6. Recording by Andrea Fiore.
Okay, that was the end of section 6, guys. And right now, with that, I am going to take a little break, get some water. I hope you guys can bear with me. If you want to drop a 1 in the chat, flat out truth, you're saying it's a great show. Some people are saying this is good. I don't know if I'm boring you. I don't know if this is boring or not. Throw me a 1 if you guys are still interested. You want to keep me going, or if you want to break here and like save it for another show. Personally, I want to keep on going. I just wanted to get a drink of water and maybe change the scenery. Maybe I'll be in my garage or something. So give me a 1. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll make this decision from there. But for right now, I'm gonna go grab some water. So let me know what you guys are thinking. All right, 1 second, y'all. 1 second. Peace, peace, peace. I'm back. Got a change of scenery going on here, and I got some water so that my throat can stay nice and crisp. Yeah, I knew that there wasn't any sound, guys. I took a break. All right, so let's get right back into this. Let's see. Ones. I see some ones. So that way far from boring. Perfect. Ones. Awesome. Great. All right. Let's do it. One more road to cross. One more. Here we go.
Section 7 of Vegetarianism and Occultism. This Vox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Andrea Fiore. Vegetarianism and Occultism by C.W. Leadbeater. Section 7. Sixth, because the vegetable diet is in every way cheaper as well as better than flesh. In the encyclical just mentioned, Mr. Booth gives us one of his reasons for advocating it, that a vegetarian diet of wheat, oats, maize, and other grains, lentils, peas, beans, nuts, and similar food is more than 10 times as economical as a flesh diet.
Yeah. I wonder why. You know what I mean? Like, they say, and trust me, I do hear the point when people say this to me, but people often will say to me, you know, the vegan, sorry about that, the vegan diet, it's so expensive, you know, to eat healthy, it's expensive, and yet is a attack on us. It's an attack on our pockets. It's an attack on just our stress levels. The way we want to eat healthy. Everybody wants to be healthier. There's nobody that honestly, they might say, I don't want to be healthier, I'm fine. But deep down in their heart, that doesn't want to be healthier, that doesn't want to wake up with more energy, that doesn't want better skin, you know what I mean? So everybody wants this, right? So I'm gonna make it more expensive. You know, how are you going to penalize me and charge me more for a vegan burger that doesn't include an animal? What are you saying? Are you saying that grass is worth more to you than an ox's life or a cow's life or a chicken's life? Like, is the vegan burger more expensive? Why is a burger made from soybeans and lentils more expensive than an animal burger that grew up its, 10, 20 years eating crops that we could have been eating, but whatever, they're eating it, right? How is that burger not hundreds of dollars? That McDonald's burger should be $50. And then the vegetarian burger should be $2. Because why? Because you take 20 cents, you buy 50 seeds, and you find some soil and you plant it, and the sun grows it for you, and then the rain waters it for you. Oh, but you want a real burger with real animals? Oh, it's $1. Vegan burger, $10. Do you see? So they're making this illusion appear like it's more like it's more expensive to eat healthy. But here's the thing: it's more expensive to eat mock meats. It's more expensive to eat vegan food that looks like meat, okay? Those fake chicken nuggets with the soy and the wheat gluten and the isolated pea proteins and shit. And pardon my language, there's kids here. That is more expensive than the meat, right? Because they know that you're addicted to the burger, you're addicted to the feel of the chicken finger, you're addicted to that habit, right? So they want you to replace that habit. It's going to charge you. You want to get off of our meat? We're making trillions of dollars in this cattle and dairy industry. Oh, you want to get off of the meat and like get in the way of our profits? It's going to cost you. That's what they're saying. And then there's a whole other side to it where I was talking about earlier with the Tamils or the Coolies or the Turks who have a simple diet and they can sustain a lot more harsher conditions, environmental states, because they're simplistic diet. They're not used to the luxuries, right? So when you are eating meat and you want to go vegan ask yourself, what kind of vegan do you want to be? Do you want to be one of those vegans that are paying an arm and a leg to have on your plate what looks like a dead chicken? You know, that looks like a hot dog, it looks like a sausage, but it's not? Or do you want to literally spend $5 and, you know, go do your shopping for the whole day? You know what I mean? You get your beans, your lentils, it's $1, you know, for a big dry bag that can make a week's worth of dinners. You know, you already have your spices at home in your cabinet, so you get some brown or black rice, you bring it home, that's gonna last you. So you got all these options, but because we're so used to the meat and the dairy and the extravagance, the in between buns and the condiments, we're paying an arm and a leg because we will not be satisfied with eating rice, lentils, and tomatoes for dinner. That's where they get us, okay? So a vegetarian diet is emphatically cheaper than a meat diet, okay? Economically speaking, right? I mean, for you too, but also economically. Growing a patch of lentils and tomatoes side by side is a lot less taxing on the earth than it is to grow a cow. So let's go.
Meat contains half its weight in water, which has to be paid for as though it were meat. A vegetable diet, even if we allow cheese, butter, and milk, will cost only about a quarter as much as a mixed diet of flesh and vegetables. Tens of thousands of our poor people, who have now the greatest difficulty to make ends meet after buying flesh food, would by the substitution of fruit and vegetables and other economical foods be able to get along in comfort. There is also an economic side of this question, which must not be ignored. Note how many more men could be supported by a certain number of acres of land, which were devoted to the growing of wheat, than by the same amount of land, which was laid out in pasture. Think too.
Okay. Now, what she just basically said, reiterated what I was saying. It is way cheaper to have a field of vegetables than it is of animals, because the vegetables don't need the antibiotics, the growth hormones, a herding dog, you know, different machinery to milk it, stables. You know what I mean? You got to wake up early and you got to feed it and stretch it, and the doctor's got to come, the vet's got to come in and check on it because it's coughing or feeling sick. You know what I mean? It's way cheaper to have yourself a vegetable farm. And if you are an animal farmer right now, then I think that it would be best to try to convert your farm over into a plant-based farm, okay? Because your industry is going out the window.
More men could be supported. Side of this question,
Okay.
which must not be ignored. Note how many more men could be supported by a certain number of acres of land, which were devoted to the growing of wheat, than by the same amount of land, which was laid out in pasture. Think, too, for how many more men healthily work upon the land would be found in the former case than in the latter, and I think you will begin to see that there is a great deal to be said from this point of view also.
Okay, basically, you know, when she said that you'll see men working more happily in the field than they would if they were, you know, slaughtering the animals, that's 1000% true. When you get blood all over your hands and blood all over your work shirt and whatever, you're bringing home those diseases. It's in your hair, it's in your nostrils, you know what I mean? It's in your pores. But, you know, and then you got to deal with the slaughter, you know, but then you take that and then you compare it to a person who's, you know, checking on the plants, going through the rows of the corn and whatever. It's much more happy, much more enjoyable, okay? There's a lot less karma going on, and that's more metaphysics, which this is going to get into. But keep that in mind, that even the employees of the farm are going to be healthier and happier. It's not just the person eating it, it's even the people working there. So deep.
7 on the land would be found in the former. Think, too, for how many more men healthily work upon the land would be found in the former case than in the latter, and I think you will begin to see that there is a great deal to be said from this point of view also. End of section 7. Recording by Andrea Fiore. Section 8 of Vegetarianism and Occultism. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Andrea Fiore. Vegetarianism and Occultism by C.W. Leadbeater. Section 8. the sin on slaughter. Hitherto we have been speaking of what we have called the physical and selfish considerations, which should make a man give up the eating of this dead flesh, and turn him, even though only for his own sake, to a purer diet. Let us now think for a few moments of the moral and unselfish considerations connected with his duty towards others. The first of
now is where we're going to get into the non-selfish part. Okay, this is this part of the book from here forward. Now, 48 minutes in, this is where you bring this to those people that are earth lovers, you know, people that are conscious and awake, and they save trees, and they do protests for the environment, and you're always getting, you know, BP oil spill, you know, sign here, sign the petition, and they're getting mad at the government. These are the reasons why they're gonna care, okay? Because an environmentalist should be vegan, 1000%. If you are an environmentalist and you want to do good by the environment, and you make petitions and you sign petitions and you send them out, and you're not a vegan, then you are basically doing, it's like speaking out against, you know, wife beating and then going home and beating your wife. It's contradictory. It's hypocritical. You can't be an environmentalist and eat meat. Or at least you can do it, but don't preach to anybody else. Let's get it.
These, and this does seem to me a most terrible thing, is the awful sin of unnecessarily murdering these animals. Those who live in Chicago know well how this ghastly, ceaseless slaughter goes on in their midst, how they feed the greater part of the world by wholesale butchery, and how the money made in this abominable business is stained with blood, every coin of it. I have shown clearly, upon irreproachable testimony, that all this is unnecessary, and if it is unnecessary, it is a crime. The destruction of life is always a crime. There may be certain cases in which it is the lesser of two evils, but here it is needless and without a shadow of justification.
Okay.
For it happens only because of the self.
Okay, back it up.
Selfish is crime, and if it is unnecessary.
Back it up. You said sometimes killing something or someone is the lesser of two evils. How can that be? How can killing anything be the lesser of two evils? Well, sometimes you're suffering. You know, if you came across a bird and its leg was broken, its wing was broken, it's got like piercings of claw marks through its chest, it's just not going to survive. There's not a vet around to take care of it. It's you know, it's just suffering. It's going to die. That is a good time for you to put it down. That's the perfect time for you to say, let me put it out of its misery and kill it. Say a prayer for it and redirect that energy where it's going to go, back into the ground, back to Gaia, wherever, and you know, put it out of its misery. But to breed an animal and to have a mother cow give birth to a child, make her do that. Make her do it by putting semen in her vagina. You are then making that mother give birth to a life that is carried for like 9-10 months, and you are killing it in front of her eyes, usually, and you think that that doesn't have any impact, or is that right? You know what I mean? We're birthing animals, putting the burden of pregnancy on animals just to kill their babies. That was hard to say. So yeah, sometimes putting an animal out of his misery is better. Like, for example, right now, if you ask me, what do you want to do? Do you want to let people eat meat, or do you want to shut down factory farms and kill every single animal that's in a farm or a cage right now? I would say, you know, kill every animal and let them die, because that's better than them waking up tomorrow morning and wondering if they're going to be killed, or having their child taken away from them, or having a human fist put up their vagina only to be impregnated from some bull that it doesn't know, or to have the boy chicks grind it up in a meat grinder because they can't lay eggs, or to put a baby boy cow in a little box to become veal because it can't produce any milk for us. I would rather, yeah, put them all down rather than have to deal one more minute with this bullshit. But if it's up to me, they'd all go to sanctuaries. Let's get it.
Abominable business is stained with blood, every coin of it. I have shown clearly, upon irreproachable testimony, that all this is unnecessary, and if it is unnecessary, it is a crime. The destruction of life is always a crime. There may be certain cases in which it is the lesser of two evils, but here it is needless and without a shadow of justification, for it happens only because of the selfish, unscrupulous greed of those who coin money out of the agonies of the animal kingdom, in order to pander to the perverted tastes of those who are sufficiently depraved to desire such loathsome ailment. Remember, it is not only those who do the obscene work, but those who, by feeding up on this dead flesh, encourage them and make their crime remunerative, who are guilty before God of this awful thing. Every person who partakes of this unclean food has his share in the indescribable guilt and suffering by which it has been obtained. It is universally recognized in law that que facit per alium facit per se. Whatsoever a man does through another, he does himself.
Whatever a man does to another, he does himself.
A man will often say, but it would make no difference to all this horror if I alone ceased to eat meat. That is untrue and disingenuous. First, it would make a difference, for although you may consume only a pound or two each day, that would in time amount to the weight of an animal.
Whew. A steak a day eventually adds up. They have a saying in Jamaica, one by one cocoa filled pot. And that means, you put one cocoa bean in the big pot, you put another one in, and soon enough your basket's full. Okay? You eat one steak today, you eat one chicken wing today. Now realize, if you eat 2 drumsticks and 2 chicken wings when you're out with your friends, you have just taken the limbs off of one chicken. It has no more wings, it has no more legs. Okay? And then you go home and your wife has made you a chicken breast dinner. That's one breast gone. Tomorrow for lunch you have a chicken breast sandwich. That's the other breast. You have chicken liver pate at an exquisite soiree. Suddenly you've taken the liver out of that chicken. Eventually your meals add up to a whole life form. Okay? How old are you right now? 20 years? 30 years? How many animals have died because of your money? Because you paid for it.
Secondly, it is not a question of amount, but of complicity in a crime, and if you partake of the results of a crime, you are helping to make it remunerative, and so you share in the guilt.
If I give money to someone who is going to murder somebody, if I hire a hitman, if I enable someone to get at someone, I am implicated in that crime. I am accessory to the crime. Okay? It happens with us all the time. Somebody got murdered. You found out it was a hitman, and the wife, they find the emails. Oh, I need my husband dead. I just need someone to do it very quick, very discreet. Well, you're going to jail for murder now.
No honest man can fail to see that this is so. But when men's lower lusts are concerned, they are usually dishonest in their view.
When man's lower lust is concerned, they're usually dishonest in their view, right? Hip hop, is it good or bad for our children to listen to? Well, obviously it's bad because we love Nas. We grew up on Snoop Dogg. Okay, maybe they can listen to a little bit of Drake, a little bit of E40. You know what I mean? We give past. You have a racist judge. A white man kills another white man. Oh, he's going to life. Say this racist judge doesn't like black people. Oh, this white cop kills a black person. Oh, he's suspended with pay. You know what I mean? You're more lenient on the things you yourself participate in. So if you love steak, you're not going to condemn the slaughter, man. Let's go.
And decline to face the plain facts. There surely can be no difference of opinion as to the proposition that all this horrible, unnecessary slaughter is indeed a terrible crime. Another point to be remembered is that there is dreadful cruelty connected with the transport of these miserable animals, both by land and sea, and there is often dreadful cruelty in the slaughtering itself. Those who seek to justify these loathsome crimes will tell you that an endeavor is made to murder the animals as rapidly and painlessly as possible. But you have only to read the reports to see that in many cases these intentions are not carried out, and appalling suffering ensues.
A lot of times the animal's throat is not slit correctly. A lot of the times these pigs, they're seizuring. These dolphins that you see in China, they're seizuring on the floor, on the kill house floor. They're struggling. They're not dead. And And let me ask another thing. How do you consciously take somebody's life? Like, how do you humanely kill somebody? How do you humanely raise something? You raise it well, and then kill it. It's well, you fed me when I was hungry. You gave me antibiotics when I was sick. Now you're gonna kill me? I would rather you have just been an a-hole to me all my life. That way, you know, I wouldn't have felt betrayed or hurt. I knew you hated me. Why were you taking care of me this whole time only to kill me? You know what I mean? There's no humane way to rape somebody. There's no humane way to put somebody down. There's no humane way to kill somebody. So how do we excuse this? Oh, because it's dinner, right? We've been taught that.
End of section 8.
Let's go back.
Owl will tell you that an endeavor is made to murder the animals as rapidly and painlessly as possible.
Like with a stun gun, you know, they try to say, oh, well, the animal doesn't feel a thing. It's quick and painless. Well, like, who are you to tell anybody else how somebody else dying feels?
But you have only to read the reports to see that in many cases these intentions are not carried out, and appalling suffering ensues.
It's like halal meat, man. Like a lot of this times you see it's halal and they're killed without human interaction. But then you see the Kill House 4 footage, and what are they doing? They're all over these animals, whipping them, and it's nuts. Let's go.
End of section 8. Recording by Andrea Fiore.
Thanks, everybody, for being here.
Section 9 of Vegetarianism and Occultism. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Andrea Fiore. Vegetarianism and Occultism by C.W. Leadbeater. Section 9. The Degradation of the Slaughterman. Yet another point to be considered is the wickedness of causing degradation and sin in other men. If you yourselves had to use the knife or the poleaxe and slaughter the animal before you so you could feed upon its flesh, you would realize the sickening nature of the task and would soon refuse to perform it. Would the Delaware sanguinary beefsteaks like to see their sons working as slaughtermen? If not, then they have no right to put this task upon some other woman's son.
Oh, damn. For all you moms out there, if do you want your children to grow up and be slaughtermen? Oh, my son wants to be a butcher. I'm so proud of him. No, you don't wish that on anybody. But because you eat your meat, your fish, your chicken, it's okay for somebody else's son to do it, right?
We have no right to impose upon a fellow citizen.
I'm not going to let my son dig in the diamond mines for pennies, but I'll let an African child dig in the diamond mines for me. Come on.
Citizen work, which we ourselves should decline to do. It may be said that we force no one to undertake this abominable means of livelihood, but that is a mere tergiversation, for in eating this horrible food, we are making a demand that someone shall brutalize himself, that someone shall degrade himself below the level of humanity. You know that a class of men has been created by the demand for this food, a class of men which has an exceedingly bad reputation. Naturally, those who are brutalized by such unclean work as this prove themselves brutal in other relations as well.
Okay. People that can take these jobs, people that lives into, he's saying that you will commonly find there's brutality in other parts of their life as well. A lot of times when you see these butcher strikes, there's a remarkable similarity between the butcher man's knife and the murderers for humans. There's like a stab and twist, and that twisting is pleasure. The stabbing is a job, right? It's okay, I have to kill this animal, I'm just gonna stab it and be done with it. That twisting is enjoyment, and that's sickening. And so to see that it often happens, if you guys see footage of farms and kill house floors, you see these people just talking like crap to these chickens, like they're pissed off at themselves and they're taking it out on defenseless beings. Oh, they just pick them up and just throw them against the friggin' floor and just bash them, and they stomp on them and they jump on them because they feel that they were trampled on in life, that they feel ignored and rejected and thrown to the wayside. So they take that job to do that. And remember, we created that. We've created this scarcity and this fiat currency system so that some people have and some people don't. Now, as soon as you go into the grocery store and take your hard-earned money, which is your economic voice, your economic power, where you're going to spend your money, when you spend money on a dead animal, that increases the demand. Everything in economics is supply and demand. If you increase the demand, which is paying for it, then the supply has to be increased for next year's predictions. So that means that there's more hirings. That means that somebody is going to have to go against their nature and say, I guess I'll do it. I got to pay the bills. The slaughterhouse is minutes away. I'll take the job. We create the demand. Let's go.
They are savage in their disposition and bloodthirsty in their quarrels, and I have heard it stated that in many a murder case, evidence has employed the particular twist of the knife, which is characteristic of the slaughterman. You must surely recognize that here is an unspeakably horrible work, and that if you take any part in this terrible business, even that of helping to support it, you are putting another man in the position of doing, not in the least for your need, but merely for the gratis and passions, work that you would under no circumstances consent to do yourself. Then we should surely remember that we are all of us hoping for the time of universal peace and kindness, a golden age, when war shall be no more, a time when man shall be so far removed from strife and anger that the whole conditions of the world will be different from those which now prevail. Do you not think that the animal kingdom will also have its share in that good time coming?
We want this golden age that they talk about, the yugas, right? The Kali Yuga. We got the Iron Age, the Bronze Age, and the Silver Age, and the Gold Age. And we know that our technology and the peace on this plane and the great monumental structures were created in our Golden Age. And we say we're going back to the Golden Age, back to the age of Aquarius and beyond. You don't think that the animals are going to have a part in that too? You don't think that they deserve that too? Oh, like the men who rape and kill babies and create laws and sanctions on other countries and starve out and genocide, they're going to get their golden age. But the innocent animals that can't even speak our language and have nothing to do with this, they're not. You have something else coming because they are going to have a golden age. But the longer that we pay for this slaughter to happen just to appease our diets and our appetites for 15 minutes and then it's forgotten, we are delaying that process of that golden age of reaching it. We can reach it much sooner. We can reach it right now if we all come together and say, no, we're not participating in any type of thing. I don't want no leather. I don't want no leather belts, no leather wallets, no silk, no honey, no nothing that comes from it. I don't leave them alone. All right? We could do this, guys, and we're doing it right now. Let's get it.
That this horrible nightmare of wholesale slaughter will be removed from it. The really civilized nations of the world know far better than this. It is only that we of the West are as yet a young race and still have many of the crudities of youth. Otherwise, we could not bear these things amongst us even for a day.
We're a young race here, you know, this new Western civilization here. We're still figuring things out. You know, we're still using pollutants and still doing crazy things. You look in old civilizations like people in India and in China, in their rural areas outside of the cities, and they're relaxed. They're eating their more vegetable diets. They're more spiritually inclined. You know what I mean? They're not blowing things up. They're not trying to make the newest technology to do this and that. They're fine having their simple tools, their simple baskets with the holes in it, and their simple hand-me-down pants, and they make their clothes. They're fine. Are the real human beings here. These are the ones that are really connected, okay? And we are like children over here. Oh, what can we blow up? What can we destroy? Let's down. Let's put let's put a hen inside of a chicken, inside of a turkey, inside of a pig, and roast it and call it, you know, meat challenge or whatever that is. You know what I mean? Those guys on YouTube. It's ridiculous. Just to see what kind of dish you can make, how epic mealtime is what they're called, epic mealtime, where those disgusting guys, they build these crazy carcass sandwiches and concoctions just to look cool. I think, and I hope that each one of them catch a heart disease of such seriousness that it converts them into veganism, and then they live happy long days as vegans, and they promote that just as hard as they did their other thing. Let's go.
Beyond all question, the future is with the vegetarian. It seems certain that in the future, and I hope it may be in the near future, we shall be looking back upon this time with disgust and with horror. In spite of all its wonderful discoveries, in spite of its marvelous machinery, in spite of the enormous fortunes that have been made in it, I am certain that our descendants will look back upon this age as one of only partial civilization, and in fact, but little removed from savagery. One of the arguments by which they will prove this will assuredly be that we allowed among us this wholesale, unnecessary slaughter of innocent animals, that we actually battened on it and made money out of it, and that we even created a class of beings who did this dirty work for us, and that we are not ashamed to profit by the result of their degradation. All of these are considerations referring only to the physical plane. Now let me tell you something of the occult side of all this. Up to the present,
you know, this is what she's talking about. You know what I mean? This is what they're saying in the book. This is needless. If I am here talking to you, living and breathing 10 years after giving up this, why can't we don't need it to survive, so it's senseless. It's senseless slaughter. That's why they say it. If there's millions of people from China to India to Africa to here that are living exclusively off the plant life, are we doing this? Why?
I have made to you many statements, strong and definite, I hope, but every one of them statements which you can prove for yourself. Read the testers and scientific men. You may test for yourselves the economic side of the question. You may go and see, if you will, how all these different types of men contrive to live so well upon vegetarian diet. All that I have said hitherto is thus within your reach. But now I am abandoning the field of ordinary physical reasoning and taking you up to the level where you have, naturally, to take the word of those who have explored these higher realms.
Okay. We're about to get into the metaphysical side of the eating plants, okay? And that is going to be saved for next week. It was always going to be broken into two. So there you have it, guys. Vegetarianism and occultism. There you have all of the reasons that pertain to somebody for switching over to the plant-based diet. We went into the selfish reasons concerning the person and the selfish reasons concerning the environment. You know, don't do it because it's going to ruin your environment. Don't do it because it'll affect your life in this way. You know, don't do it because you wouldn't want your child to do this. That was the perspective that we just covered. Next week, on the other special live part 2 of this, we're going to go into the unseen part, the parts that you can only measure and show through as above, so below. You know, universal laws of vibration, laws of correspondence and gender and certain other laws. This is where we kind of get into those hermetics. That's what you'd be more familiar with. So it gets more exciting. About 26, that was 3 solid hours of facts, of 100% facts. There was nothing in there that was objectional. Nothing in there that was subjective. Nothing in there that you could say, well, I don't agree with that. You can't disagree with the fact that uric acid and urea and creatine breaks down into nitrogen, and that when they measure a sample of meat and they know that protein breaks down into nitrogen, they just measure all the nitrogen in the meat. boosting the readings of the protein, because there is no more protein left in the flesh because it only exists in the plants, and it's already been broken down into the nitrogen into the flesh. So there's no traces of it anymore. And even us in our own bodies, we take in amino acids and we build up proteins, but we never build a protein that you can observe. It's always being used as soon as it's being created. So it's like having fingers, okay? 5 fingers, and each one of them is a different amino acid, okay? And when you get a fist, that's a protein, okay? So you get this one amino acid, and you get this amino acid from kale, and then you eat an apple, and then your body takes this amino acid, and then you eat a pear, and it gets another amino acid, and then you eat a carrot, and it gets another one. As soon as that's recognized, it is utilized. So you are never putting together a protein. When you get these 2 amino acids, it's doing what it needs to do. And when you get these 2 other ones, it's doing what it needs to do. They're being marshaled to your body immediately. The plant kingdom, like she said, like Dr. Ledbetter said, the plants are the only things that build up the protein. So everybody, I say that to say this, truly, the next time anybody talks about protein to you, confidently tell them that the only place proteins are made is in the plant. Everything else breaks it down. Chickens, fish, cows, pigs, dogs, humans break protein down, okay? Now let me get to the chat, because I've been talking at you and not really with you. And I'm gonna pause where we've been so I remember, so that for next week we can just go right back in. Okay. Conscious Vegan, what's going on? Mind's Eye, question everything's love. Much love. I remember in elementary school. Yes, I want to read this out loud if you don't remember. I remember in elementary school going to a farm on a field trip and feeling disgusted from the smells. I can't imagine how slaughterhouse smells. Woo! I mean, the manure of that place. I would always be like this. Now, the manure is actually very good for your sinuses. You know, it has microbials in it, like those B12 creating microbes. When that dust gets into the air and you smell that earth, that fertilizer, is very good to clear you out and to remineralize and balance you out. That's why children that live on farms, they rarely get sick, even though the animals do get sick a lot. But now if you're eating the animals, you know what I mean, that's another story. And it's so funny how a farmer doesn't really like to eat other people's meat. You know what I mean? Because they know what can happen. They see firsthand the cysts growth. They see the open sores develop. You know what I mean? The pigs eating each other's tails off. They see it. So they know exactly what happens if the animals aren't being inoculated by these antibiotics, okay, and these steroids. It's very off-putting. It's just like a cell phone maker. Using Jobs, Bill Gates, they don't carry cell phones and talk with their cell phones. They keep them away from that because they know how damaging it is, right? Mind's Eye, it is over. This portion is over. The portion that dealt with you should go plant-based for like selfish reasons, why your health will improve, yours will improve, and your mood has been covered. So now you guys share it, please. Please share this far and wide. Email it to people that you care about. Put it in your Twitter, put it in your Instagram even. Just put the link on your Instagram account so people can click on it. Get this information out there, because not a lot of people are like us. Each one of us know 10, 20, 40 people that are being described in this book. You know, the meat eaters, the slaughtermen, the butchermen, the people that where you say, all they can say is, but I love bacon, bacon. You know, those people. They need to hear this because, again, this is fact. I wanted to separate this from the next part of the book because the next part of the book is going to be going into the metaphysics, the beyond the physical, okay? So it's not going to be something that you can readily talk to about with someone on the bus, about someone with your teacher or your parent or your grandparents. They're gonna stop at this point and be like, whoa, wait, I've never seen that before. Like, I was with you until here, right? We have to be very peace, soul consciousness. We have to be very careful about the way we approach the subject, right? And that I said at the beginning, different like weak points, right? People have their different entryways of how we're. So is it a selfish reason, environmental reason? Is it reasons for people? You have to figure that out very quickly if you're having an elevator conversation. So if you can pique their interest and say, hey, I think you'll like it, you know, I think it'll be hard for you to argue. If people say, yeah, okay, send it my way, and you can send them this live stream, but the next live stream, man, that really like blew my mind and changed my perspective on that. You can say, hey, yeah, I got the next one. It's on the same book, but it goes just a little bit further if you're ready for it. Or this next part that we're going to, the person that's already into the occult side of life, the hidden side of life, people that are into conscious, share this on YouTube in the conscious communities. You know what I mean? People that care about the environment and talk about transcendence and awakening and golden ages and all that. This next part is going to about how can you be just if you're eating meat, same amount of spiritual enlightenment on a meat and dairy diet. And happiness and inner balance and meditation quicker without the pus and the mucus and the antibiotics and the steroids. Is your higher self and making better instinctual decisions and karmic resonances on a vegetarian diet or a meat diet with karma attached to it as death, struggle. All of these more, much more, are going to be covered in so please show some love here, guys. I'm doing this for everybody out there so that we can change the world. It's freaking cold out here, up here in Canada. Got a lot of snow, guys. I've been I've been very away, not as frequent because the snow is just crazy here. Conscious Vegan says you're a true empath, bro. Much love. Thank you. And from another, which is all of you guys, because all of you guys in the comment section are just eating this all up, loving it, loving the truth, loving the light. And I really, really, truly appreciate each and every one of you. I think about you guys when I'm driving around. I think about you guys when I'm at work. When I share next, it's the most logical and what would they want to hear. I don't know if self-consciousness sets in, I don't know if you guys want to hear everything I have to say all the time. You know what I mean? So I'm not as frequently, but I would love to share a lot of stuff, but you know what I mean? You guys are definitely helping me open up. So with that said, thank you for joining me. This is definitely my favorite book dealing with reasons to go to a plant-based diet. Mind's Eye, Question Everything's Love, GPX Sage, Jonathan Brown, what's good? Willie Littlejohn, KT420, everybody that's popped in and out, even the people that came to disrupt the class, which I didn't have time for because, as you see, this was just too good of a show to have it being, disgraced. Now, y'all know me. Y'all can check the comments. You can go back and see what I say to people that blast hate on my page. I treat them with nothing but love and respect. But these people that were showing disrespect in the comment, these people are regulars. They come around frequently, and they're trolling. You know what I mean? And I don't have any time for that. So if you're new and if you're watching this and you're frustrated and you're mad inside, it's okay. And I love you, and I wouldn't wish any harm on you or anything like that. It's all good. We're talking about how we can all live more peaceful lives. But I mean, for someone to be trolling and to be saying that stuff just because, hey, we got to remember, guys, there's trillions of lives at risk. I'm going to show you guys something. I'm going to share a little something with you guys before we leave. Okay? Let me share this with you guys. I got the pasties like a mother. Okay. Animal slaughter. Billion animals. And I just got to this page 12 seconds ago. Okay, as you can see. I got here 18, 19, 20 seconds ago. And this is how many animals has been slaughtered since then. Now, this is a tracker. It runs on the average. It takes last year's numbers of animals that were killed, and it is now putting them up in seconds. Second, we can see just what it takes to reach those trillions of animals, land and sea animals. So just in that minute, over 1.5 million wild fish have been caught. Wild fish have been slaughtered. Over 120,000 animals a minute and 5 seconds in. Chickens, sorry. You guys can see the numbers. It's crazy. I mean, donkeys, horses, camels, for their lids and dropping dead from being ridden. Buffaloes for their we treat these like products. We want their horns, we want their fur, we want their fat, we want their meat. When will we just be satisfied with what we've been given to use? The trees, the vines, the seeds, the rocks. When will we came so far before this industrialization of killing animals wholesale that we can go right back to it? We have the technology to mimic geese feather, so we don't need down sheets. We don't need pelts because we have such good mimic furs. We don't need this pig or chicken because we have imitation meats, if that's what you want. If you want to mimic dead rodents. Why rodents? Well, because we're testing them in labs. Oh, what do they, I wonder how this eye cream will make a lady react. I got a great idea. Let's put it on a mouse. There should be baboons here, monkeys, because they get tested on too for crash tests for brain injuries and stuff like that. Since their brains are so much like ours, they should be here too. So I wonder how dangerous this car is. I know. Let's put a baboon in it and see. Rabbits. I wonder how this mascara is gonna look, or lipstick is gonna look, or this foundation is gonna look on human skin. Well, we're using pretty dangerous ingredients here. Let's get a rabbit to test it on first. Wait, you're telling me that what's in my face cream and what's in my L'Oreal product, because I think they used to animal test or whatever, but I don't think they do anymore or whatever. Maybe they do. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. What genius said, let's test that on an animal first. Let's test that on a rabbit and see, if the rabbit breaks out in a reaction. It's nonsense, guys, and it has to stop. So from one empath to another, we don't need to be doing this. We're creating this death and lowering our frequencies for no reason. With all the disease that's out there, with all the contaminated water, contaminated air, and junk on TV, and all these, let's kind of lighten the load by controlling what we eat, right? Let's mitigate our death by putting life in us. Hey, that's one of the only have control over. You know what I mean? I mean, we don't always know how it's grown, what pesticides are used, but hey, at least an animal that hasn't used a ton of resources, somebody to slaughter, and now it has to feel the pain. You know, we can avoid all of that. All right. So I'm gonna say peace, and peace, plain mind. Peace right there. You know the rest. If you're new to the show, welcome, and thanks for sticking around this long. Next week we're gonna have the green stream where we're gonna go into. I want to go into the infant diets, baby diets, how to get into feeding the children of our nation. You know what I mean? Of this whole plane. What to feed them once they get off the breast, and if they can't be on the breast, what to feed them instead, and then what to feed them after that once they get into the solid foods, okay? Or do they even need to be into the solid foods at all? So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about raise a child completely vegan and plant-based. Are we still protecting them from every single disease, and are they free of karmic resonances from their mothers and fathers? Well, who knows? We'll if the weather holds up. All right, guys. So thank you so much for joining me today on this special green stream. I hope you guys loved it, and please subscribe, like, and share. And for everybody that donated, Willie Littlejohn, hey, Mind's Eye, thank you very much for that donation, for that super chat. I appreciate that. I didn't see that. She says, I wish I'd stay on. Well, you know what? Next week, that'll help. P.ISO, once again, appreciate the info. Appreciate your attention, brother. Thank you very much. And Willie Littlejohn, thank you guys. Thank you guys. There's one question. Do birds are meant to eat meat? No, I don't, because I don't agree that birds are also meant to eat rocks. Birds and lizards chew rocks now. Flesh of what they eat, because the meat that they're eating, they can't swallow it whole like a seed or like a leaf and it'll be fine. They need the rocks in there, like a crocodile will scoop up some rocks, and the rocks, you'll see them eating rocks. This helps them mash up the meat and the bones, right? So it can pass through their small little digestible tracts. I believe that man has a perception of scarcity amongst certain types of ecosystems, and within different types of animal kingdoms, they have to do with what they have, because we created that. I mean, we took away their natural plant, we took away their natural environment, altered the soil composition, whatever, and now they have to resort to this. So once we stop using the animals senselessly, they'll stop eating meat senselessly, okay? And hopefully we'll regenerate the earth, we'll plant mushrooms and algae and seaweed everywhere, and live harmoniously with everybody. So that's enough. That's enough for me. Peace, power, and protection. And like I always say, eat to live. Eat food that are living. Eat so that you can live. Don't live to eat. Don't go to the restaurants because what they got new on the menu, and oh, there's a wing fest and rib fest, so I'm just gonna spend all my money there. No, give, and you're gonna enjoy your life, your children's life, your grandchildren, and hopefully your great grandchildren's life even more. Peace.